Adam and Eve lived in a reality where every need was taken care of before they even opened their eyes. They lived in complete nakedness, without shame, in innocence, without even knowing what nakedness meant. They knew they were free to enjoy everything, except for one thing, except for the fruit. Have you ever looked back and realized you already had everything, and still there was a voice in your head telling you it was not enough? Maybe you wanted the other position, even though the one you had was already good. Maybe it was the product you were convinced you could not live without, or something you saw in someone else's life and felt that if only you had it too, you would be happy. But here is my question. When you finally got that thing, did it truly bring you the happiness you expected? To understand why we long for what we don't have, and why we're so often drawn to the negative instead of appreciating all the good already in front of us, I want to go back to the ancient story of Eve, the serpent, and yes, Adam too. I don't want to focus on sin or guilt. I want to show you how manipulation reshapes the way we see reality, why we so often feel dissatisfied even when we already have so much, and how you can keep moving forward with your head held high even after you've made a mistake, and even if you're still paying for it. Ready for a fascinating story from an angle you may not have heard before? Let's get into it. The story of the Garden of Eden begins right at the end of creation. Over 6 days, God brings the world into being, the heavens and the earth, the sun, the moon and the stars, the animals, the plants, and finally, humans. At the end of creation, God plants the Garden of Eden. This isn't just a beautiful place, it's the perfect picture of creation, a world full of abundance, beauty, and every good thing. Scripture describes it this way. And out of the ground, the Lord God made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. At the end of creation, God places Adam in the Garden of Eden and invites him to enjoy all the good within it. But there's one boundary. He must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the tree we often think of as the apple tree. Scripture puts it this way: you may freely eat from every tree of the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for on the day you eat from it, you will surely die. Adam is surrounded by everything he needs, and yet one thing is still missing: a woman. God sees that Adam is alone, and while he sleeps, he takes one of his ribs and creates Eve from it. And that's how Adam and Eve begin their life together, there in the Garden of Eden, naked and without shame. Adam and Eve lived in a world where every need was met before they even woke up. They were completely naked, yet felt no shame, living in innocence, without even knowing what nakedness was. They knew they were free to enjoy everything except for one thing, the fruit. And here's something interesting. God says to Adam and Eve, "You may freely eat." And still, even we notice that one small no. There's so much yes around them, so much freedom, so many possibilities. And yet Adam and Eve, just like us, keep focusing on what they don't have. For Adam and Eve, that boundary was meant to protect them. It was there to keep them safe. But at the same time, that very boundary, that very tree, is the first moment in the story where choice enters the picture. Yes, eating the apple could lead to death, but it was still a choice they were free to make. And just like in this story, we also make choices every day about what we focus on and what we allow to shape us. Adam and Eve are living in the Garden of Eden. And on the surface, it seems like the tree of knowledge doesn't concern them at all. They're enjoying all the good around them until one day when Eve is alone, the serpent appears before her. The serpent is not described as some terrifying creature. Scripture describes him as more subtle than any beast of the field. He doesn't threaten Eve. He doesn't come with force. He simply starts talking to her in a way that seems completely innocent. And that's where the manipulation begins. The serpent comes to Eve and opens with one small question. He asks why she's not eating from every tree in the garden. He doesn't ask about the fruit directly. He asks why she's not enjoying all the goodness of Eden. The serpent is manipulating Eve. He presents reality to her in a slightly different way. Adam and Eve are living in complete freedom. God has given them so many possibilities, an entire world of yes. And what does the serpent do? He points her attention to the one no. Eve answers the serpent and tells him that God has given them the fruit of the garden to eat. She repeats God's command and makes the boundary clear. If she eats from the tree of knowledge, she will die. She looks at all the good fruit around her, but the serpent keeps drawing her eyes to the one thing she cannot have. And then he delivers the line that changes everything. You will not surely die. He tries to take away her fear, and then he goes even further. God knows that when you eat from the tree, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like him, knowing good and evil. And in that moment, Eve's whole reality changes. She no longer sees the command as protection, and she no longer sees the abundance all around her. Now all she sees is the restriction, as though she has no choice at all. And suddenly she looks at the fruit differently. She no longer sees the threat of death. She sees an opportunity. It's very much like the inner dialogue we all have with ourselves. We look at the cookie and know nothing good will come of it, and still we tell ourselves one cookie won't hurt. And sometimes that ends with 5 or 6 cookies instead of just one. Eve looks at the fruit and sees something beautiful, desirable, and full of promise. Her curiosity overpowers the command. She picks it, eats it, and then gives some to Adam as well. Adam does not stop Eve. He does not remind her of God's command. He simply eats with her without asking a single question, both of them, together. From the moment they ate the fruit, their reality changed. Suddenly, they became aware of their nakedness, and with that, new things entered their lives that had never been there before: shame, vulnerability, and fear. Adam and Eve rushed to cover themselves with fig leaves and hide among the trees of the garden. And when God calls out to Adam and asks where he is, Adam answers that he is hiding because he is afraid. This is where the conversation takes an interesting turn. God asks Adam whether he's eaten from the forbidden tree, and Adam answers that Eve gave him the fruit. He tells God that the woman he gave him is the one who handed it to him. The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. So Adam understands that he's done something wrong, but he doesn't take responsibility for it. He blames Eve, and in a way, he also blames God for giving her to him. And what about Eve? When God turns to her and asks for her side of the story, she blames the serpent. Neither of them is really willing to take responsibility for eating the fruit, for something they did entirely by their own choice. And the result? They are driven out of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve leave the safety of that protected world, the place of constant abundance, and step into a world of pain, struggle, and daily labor. And the serpent? He's punished too. The serpent loses his legs, and from that moment on, he crawls on his belly. Eve is told that she will bring forth children in pain. I will greatly multiply thy pain and thy travail. In pain thou shalt bring forth children. Adam too is told that life will no longer come easily. From now on, he will have to work hard for his food, and in the end, he too will return to dust. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. All of them are punished, each in a different way, but none more than the other. Adam and Eve leave that sheltered world behind and step into a life of labor, pain, and struggle. You can see this as a devastating expulsion, but it's important to remember that this is not the end of the story. It's only the beginning. Adam and Eve don't remain frozen in what was lost. They step into the real world and begin to build. Adam and Eve don't stay sitting by the locked gate, mourning what was lost. They step into the real world and begin to build. Eve receives her name, the mother of all living. not inside Eden, but outside of it. She's transformed from the one remembered for temptation into the one who brings life, creation, and continuity. And together, they discover that even outside that sheltered world, even after a mistake that cost them dearly, it's still possible to build a civilization, raise a family, and create something new. The story of Adam, Eve, the serpent, and the fruit is not just a story about punishment. It's our first lesson in free choice. God draws a boundary, but he doesn't stop Adam and Eve from crossing it. He places them in the middle of abundance, and then they have to choose. Eve could have seen the abundance right in front of her. She could have chosen to listen to God, but instead, she chose the fruit. And we're not so different. Every day, we make the same kind of choice, whether to focus on the yes or the no, on what we have or what we lack, whether to live by our values or be led by the moment. No matter what we do or where we turn, there's always some kind of choice before us. And very often, it is not that simple. We're not always choosing between good and evil. Sometimes we just have to choose, and it's not always black and white, even though that choice may affect our lives later. And this is where we can fall into the trap. And that trap can be summed up in one word: manipulation. In the story, the serpent is a cunning creature. But in our lives, he can represent those inner and outer voices that reshape the way we see reality. What did the serpent actually do? He redefined reality for Eve. He made her focus on what she did not have, even though she already had so much. And that's exactly what happened. Eve's perspective shifted. She no longer saw all the trees she was free to enjoy, only the one fruit that was forbidden. In the end, our reality is shaped by what we choose to focus on. Eve could have kept looking at the abundance all around her, but the moment she chose to fix her eyes on what was missing, Eden no longer felt like Eden. And that's not so different from our everyday lives. Every day we're choosing whether to focus on what is missing or on everything that is already here. And within all of this, there's something else at work here: shared responsibility. Yes, the serpent was cunning, and Eve was the first to take the fruit. But Adam wasn't just a bystander. He had a choice, and he chose to eat. This isn't the mistake of one person alone. It's a shared responsibility that leads to a shared outcome. And it reminds us that in our own relationships, our choices never happen in isolation. They always affect the people walking beside us. And now to one of the most striking parts of this story. I'll be honest, I used to see it as a story about punishment. But the more I reflected on it, the more I began to notice what came after the act itself. Adam and Eve are driven out of Eden, and they discover that this is not the end of the road. Now they have to act, to work, to create. Nothing will simply be waiting for them unless they build it with their own hands. Eve brings life into the world, and Adam works the land. This means that even when we make a mistake, there's still a day after. Yes, reality changes, but we're still here, and that is something important to remember. We can still build an entire world, and one mistake does not define who we are. We still have a whole life ahead of us to tell our story. And the story of Adam and Eve, it doesn't really end. It becomes the story of all of us. For me, this is a deeply moving story. And more than that, I'm grateful to share it with you and to explore how it can shape the way we see the reality we live in today. This is the moment to thank Adam and Eve for such a deeply human lesson in curiosity, choice, and the ability to keep moving forward even when it feels like reality itself is falling apart. But even more than that, I want to thank you for spending this time with me, for giving me your attention. And I hope this story helps you build your own reality in the way you choose. And if this story gave you a new perspective or helped you in any way, I'd love to hear in the comments what you connected with most. Because the moment you put it into words, it becomes real. Thank you for being here with me. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. If your life sometimes feels like a never-ending series of hard choices, challenges, and drama, if it feels like you're constantly fighting an uphill battle, this video is for you. Let's put this out there right from the start. We all make mistakes, and nobody is perfect. Sometimes we look for shortcuts, and other times we're just completely burned out. We sometimes take on behaviors or even use words that aren't really ours just to fit in or get ahead, and sometimes that leads us to make the wrong call. But does that mistake define who we are? I'm sure you have a story in your past too, one you believe defines you and holds you back. And today, that is exactly what I want to dive into. Today, we are going to dive into the story of Jacob and Esau, two brothers who were complete opposites. On one side, you have Esau, a man of the outdoors, driven by action and physical strength. And on the other side, you have Jacob. I'll talk more about Esau in a separate video because his story honestly teaches us a lot. But this time, let's focus on Jacob's journey. He was the one born holding onto his brother's heel, who felt like he constantly had to fight for his place and who nearly lost everything along the way. What exactly did Jacob go through? He set out on a journey that teaches us about the importance of responsibility, the power of second chances, and how our past can haunt us, but also what happens when we finally take charge of our own lives. This video will show you how to build the reality you've been dreaming of, even if you have a past, even if there are moments you regret, and even if the circumstances around you have completely changed. Ready? Let's get started. Our story begins in the book of Genesis with a couple who waited a very long time for a child, Isaac, the son of Abraham, and his wife, Rebekah. After 20 years of praying and waiting, it finally happens. Rebekah gets pregnant. But despite the excitement, Rebekah realizes early on that this isn't a typical pregnancy. She feels incredibly intense movements inside her, like an actual battle is taking place. And it drives her to go looking for answers to understand exactly why this is happening. She turns to the wise men for answers, and they tell her she's carrying twins. But these aren't just any twins. She is carrying two nations, two completely different worldviews, and just as they are fighting in the womb, they are going to battle in life. And if that isn't enough, going completely against what was accepted at the time, the wise men tell her that the older child is going to serve the younger one. Then the moment of birth arrives, and the contrast between them is impossible to miss. Esau comes out first. He's red-haired, his body is covered in hair, and he basically looks like a baby who is already prepared to take on the world. Right after him comes Jacob, with his tiny hand gripping his brother's heel, as if even at the very moment of birth he was already trying to get ahead of Esau. The two grow up to be complete opposites. Esau is an outdoorsman, a rugged hunter, a man of action and power who can even be ruthless when he needs to be. His father admires his masculinity and his ability to put food on the table, making him Isaac's undisputed favorite son. But what about Jacob? He is a thinker, a man of the mind. He stays close to the tents and remains by his mother Rebekah's side throughout the years. If we bring this back to our own lives for a second, Esau is that guy who was dealt a winning hand. He's strong, bold, ready for action, and adored by his father. I'm sure you can think of people just like that. People who seem to have everything handed to them, even when it feels like they haven't earned it, while you are out here trying to figure things out and fighting for the life you want. I'll pause right here and just say this. We can all find ourselves constantly comparing our lives to others, so much so that we completely lose sight of our own blessings and the good things we already bring to the table. The first major turning point in the story happens on a sad and fateful day. Abraham, the grandfather of the family, passes away, and Jacob is inside the tent preparing a red lentil stew to comfort his grieving father. Right at the exact moment the stew is ready, Esau bursts in. He has just returned from the outdoors, and he is exhausted, not just tired, completely wiped out. Some say he was doing things far more intense than just hunting. His body feels broken, his soul feels entirely drained, and the second he sees that red lentil stew, he simply loses it. He begs Jacob for the food, essentially demanding to be fed, and he's ready to give up absolutely anything to get it. Jacob realizes Esau is in a vulnerable moment, spots the opportunity, and agrees to give him the food in exchange for just one thing, his birthright. Esau, a man who lives completely in the present, brushes off the value of his future. He tells Jacob that the birthright means nothing to him, so he agrees to trade away his entire future inheritance, all for a single bowl of lentils. Now, let's pause here for a second. You might relate to Esau, or maybe you completely understand Jacob, but either way, there is a tension here that happens constantly in our own lives too. It's the gap between what we need right here and now and our long-term vision for the future. How many times in our lives do we act just like Esau? We give up on a big dream, a project that truly mattered to us, or even our core values, all because we are completely caught up in what is happening right in front of us, here and now. But then there are the times when we act like Jacob. We push hard to achieve the big things, but we sometimes lose sight of the real impact of our actions, never stopping to ask ourselves if that grand future is going to come at a heavy price. It is a dramatic tension. In life, sometimes we choose the bowl of lentils, and other times we play the long game. Sometimes we are Esau, and sometimes we are Jacob. Years pass, and Isaac is now an old man. His eyesight has faded, and he is blind. Feeling that his time is coming to an end, he calls for his oldest son, Esau. He wants to pass on his inheritance before he dies, so he asks Esau to go out, hunt, and prepare his favorite meal so that he can give him his blessing. Now, you have to understand, this blessing is about so much more than just kind words or passing down a large fortune. It is the transfer of leadership, tradition, and power. It is the future of the entire family. And this is exactly where the drama escalates. Rebecca overhears the conversation, and she remembers the prophecy she was given back when she was pregnant. She loves Jacob, and she truly believes that he is the one who is supposed to receive the blessing, so she decides to step in. Rebecca pulls Jacob aside and shares her plan. He is going to go in, take Esau's place, and secure the blessing for himself. Jacob is naturally hesitant, and with good reason. He points out that his father will likely reach out to touch him, and since his skin is smooth, Isaac will instantly realize he's trying to steal the inheritance. Instead of getting a blessing, he could easily end up cursed. Rebecca understands his fear. To fix this, she wraps his hands and neck in goat skins, giving him the rugged feel that Isaac associates with Esau. And just like that, Jacob steps into the tent. Isaac is completely confused as he hears Jacob's gentle voice but feels hairy hands. He even says, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." Ultimately, though, he is convinced, passing on the inheritance and giving Jacob the blessing. And if you thought there was drama up until now, right as Jacob walks out, Esau walks in. He asks his father for the blessing, only to realize it has already been taken from him. Esau lets out a devastating cry, and his rage runs so deep that he vows the second their father dies, he is going to kill his brother Jacob. At that moment, Rebecca realizes exactly what has been unleashed. She knows Esau is fully capable of following through, so she tells Jacob to run as far away as he possibly can. And just like that, the boy who was so used to being safe and protected inside the tent, living right by his mother's side, finds himself fleeing from everything he knows. He is running from his own actions and desperately trying to outrun the consequences. On one hand, Jacob finally got what he had wanted all those years, ever since they were in the womb. But on the other hand, he lost absolutely everything: his home, his mother and father, and his entire sense of belonging and safety. This brings up so many questions. Does the end really justify the means? Can taking on a completely different identity just to get approval actually work in our own lives? And if we do make a mistake, is there a way to fix it, or will it just haunt us forever? Let me tell you something. Jacob is now heading out on his own journey, and in just a moment, he is going to meet himself, who he truly is, for the very first time. Jacob, a man who was completely used to a life of safety and protection, is now walking deep into the desert. He feels the freezing cold of the night and the blazing heat of the day. And for the very first time in his life, he has absolutely nowhere to go back to. When he finally tries to sleep, he has to rest his head on hard stones. We can all relate to a moment like that. Think about a time you had to make a really tough call. Maybe you quit a job you'd had for years or walked away from a relationship that just hit a dead end. Even when you know you made the right choice, it still takes a toll, at least at first. Suddenly, you're completely on your own, feeling exposed and totally vulnerable. But here's the thing. Those are the exact moments when you are the most open to real change. Jacob falls asleep on those stones and has an incredible dream. He sees a ladder resting on the ground, reaching all the way up into the sky, with angels going up and down. In the dream, he hears a voice telling him, "I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go." That dream is a powerful reminder to Jacob that life is about so much more than schemes and rivalries, and that there are far greater things at play. When he wakes up, he realizes that even in the most lonely, uncomfortable, and painful places, there is meaning. This connects directly to our own lives because we often think the light is only found in our successes. But the truth is, there is light in our failures and our struggles too. We just have to be willing to see it. And just like that, from this moment on, Jacob realizes he is no longer running away from his past. He is finally walking toward his future. Jacob keeps walking until he reaches Haran. He is thirsty, heads over to a well, and that is exactly where he meets Rachel. His heart opens up instantly. He is willing to do absolutely anything for her, so he goes to her father, Laban, and asks to marry her. Laban agrees, but on one condition. Jacob has to work for him for 7 years in return. Jacob was so deeply in love that the work felt like nothing. In fact, the story says those 7 long years felt like just a few days to him. It's amazing how having a massive, meaningful goal can give us the strength to push through hardships that would normally break us. Now, I know I promised you drama, and here it is, a powerful reminder that our past doesn't just disappear. On the wedding night, Laban completely tricks Jacob. The woman under the veil isn't Rachel at all, it's her older sister, Leah. When morning comes and Jacob realizes who he actually married, he is furious. He confronts Laban, demanding to know why he betrayed him. But the answer Jacob gets leaves him completely stunned. Laban tells him that in their culture, the younger sister simply cannot get married before the older firstborn sister. Yep, that is exactly what Jacob did to Esau. He tried to flip the natural order to take the birthright, and now it finally hits him. There are rules in life, and just because he managed to manipulate them once doesn't mean he can do it again. But this time, Jacob doesn't run away. He still wants to marry Rachel, so he stays right where he is and commits to working for Laban for another 7 years. Over that time, he builds a family and accumulates real wealth. He learns the true meaning of perseverance, and he finally stops being a mama's boy. Jacob transforms into a man who builds his own empire through sheer hard work, someone who finally knows how to overcome challenges on his own. 20 years later, Jacob is a wealthy man with a large family, and he decides it's finally time to go back home. But despite all his success, he is still terrified of his brother Esau. He gets word that Esau has gathered an entire army to attack him the second he arrives. Jacob is scared, and with good reason. He prays, he sends gifts ahead, but ultimately, he finds himself standing completely alone. He goes down to the river and falls asleep. That night, he wrestles with a mysterious figure. Some say it was an angel, while others call it his own inner voice. He battles this figure until the sun comes up, returning to his family injured and limping, but he still refuses to give up on his mission. Jacob has fundamentally changed. He realizes he no longer needs to disguise himself as someone he's not. He doesn't need to scheme or manipulate anymore. He just wants to return to where he belongs, fully accepting that he might have to pay a heavy price to do so. Then Jacob comes face to face with Esau, and the unbelievable happens. Instead of drawing his sword, Esau chooses to embrace him. Instead of bloodshed and war, there is a profound moment of reconciliation and forgiveness. Jacob bows to Esau over and over again. And in that moment, he finally understands. The hardest battle he ever fought was the one against himself and his own fears. By finally building up who he truly was, he managed to create an entirely new reality. So what actually happened in that moment when Jacob and Esau finally embraced? Jacob realized that he had built an entirely new reality for himself. His past didn't just magically disappear, but he had changed. He had become a family man, someone who had built his own life and his own success from the ground up. And now, without the safety net he used to rely on, and without hiding behind anyone else, he was finally able to close the loop on his past. Building a new reality isn't some magic trick that happens overnight. Sure, it doesn't have to take 20 years, but it is a process. It requires us to stop running, step up as the leaders of our own lives, and sometimes pay a real price to go above and beyond. So now, I want to show you exactly how you can build your own new reality, step by step, using the exact roadmap Jacob left behind for us. From the very beginning, we were told that Jacob was destined to lead, not Esau. He had dreamed about it his entire life, but no matter how deeply he wanted that blessing, he couldn't get it as himself. He only got it by playing the part of Esau. He literally had to put on a disguise and pretend to be his brother just to take something that wasn't naturally his. And honestly, this happens to all of us. We try to fake it. We start mimicking how other people act. Maybe it's a successful coworker, or maybe it's a famous celebrity, and we try to become exactly like them. The problem is, that is simply not who we are. You can change your wardrobe, tweak the way you speak, and completely redesign your outer shell. But deep down inside, you are still exactly who you are. The very first step in building a new reality is understanding this core truth. You cannot change your destiny or your environment just by putting on a different set of clothes. If you want to create real change, you have to be willing to change something from the inside out. You have to be brave enough to face who you truly are, to own your mistakes, look honestly at your environment, and finally recognize your own unique strengths. If you truly want to change your reality, the very first thing you have to do is get completely honest about where you are right now. You can literally stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself, or just try to strip the situation down to its bare bones. The only thing that actually matters is reaching the point where you are finally ready to change something within yourself. Building a new reality demands internal change. Even if you think you are just making a simple, practical move, like moving to a new house or city, something deep inside you has to shift. It is going to be genuinely different, and yes, that comes with a real price. But here is the secret. If you accept that and are willing to actually pay that price, the entire process becomes so much easier. Once you feel ready to make a genuine internal change and stop just playing a part, you have to actually get moving. Jacob set out on a journey deep into the desert. Today, people might picture that as some sort of exciting adventure, but the reality was brutal. He had to survive extreme heat, freezing cold, and literally sleep on hard rocks. In our lives today, those rocks might look a little different, but they are absolutely still there. The point I'm trying to make is this. If you genuinely want to change your reality, you have to be willing to step completely out of your comfort zone. You have to accept that sometimes the process is going to feel exactly like sleeping on rocks. Let me give you a few examples. If you want to build a business, your rocks are going to be staying up late to learn new things, sacrificing your free time, and having to pass on hanging out with friends. If you want to get in shape, those rocks are the sweat and the sheer physical effort, not just pushing yourself when you happen to feel motivated, but committing to it as a lifestyle. Now, I am not trying to scare you here. I actually want to invite you to look at this differently, to realize that discomfort isn't just suffering. It's actually a sign that you are building something real. It was exactly when Jacob was at his most uncomfortable that he dreamed of a ladder reaching all the way into the sky. And you can reach those heights too, but only if you are willing to embrace the discomfort along the way. Now, there is something really important I need to point out. You might be listening to this and thinking, I'm already uncomfortable right now, and that's exactly why I came to this channel, to change something. But the truth is, a lot of people would rather sit in their familiar discomfort than go through the messy process of actually changing it. Change is never easy, and the discomfort of stepping into the unknown hits you almost instantly. But the payoff can be absolutely extraordinary. And when your life finally looks different, the best part won't just be the change itself. It will be knowing that you built it, that you get to take full credit for creating your own reality. For all of this to happen, you need to set a goal that is actually worth waking up for. A goal that gets you out of bed early in the morning, makes you willing to skip a night out, and drives you to put in the extra hours of learning to make it happen. Think about it. Jacob saw Rachel for the very first time and just fell completely in love. He was willing to work 7 years for her and then another 7 years after that. Rachel was his why. The truth is, she was so much more than just a woman he loved. She was the catalyst that helped him build himself into the man he became. Now, just between us, life isn't always going to be simple or easy. Even if you get the body you've always dreamed of, find the perfect relationship, and never have to worry about money again, life is still going to throw challenges your way. But that doesn't make it a bad thing. In fact, it's the exact opposite. You want a life that challenges you and gives you a real purpose. You can create a vision board, or you can just close your eyes and imagine exactly what you want. The only thing that actually matters is that you clearly define your goal. If that goal is strong enough, you will be willing to do absolutely anything to achieve it. And not only that, you will actually feel like that goal is bringing you to life. Jacob worked for 7 long years, but to him, it felt like just a few short days because he was so completely devoted to Rachel. Whether your goal is stepping into a better career, getting in shape, or building a healthy relationship, the principle is the same. If you genuinely want it, the effort won't break you. Every action you take will only make you stronger. The final step Jacob had to take on his journey was making peace with his past so he could finally create space for his future. Ultimately, after 20 years away, Jacob went back to Esau and asked for his forgiveness. He didn't try to justify his past actions or make excuses. And even when Esau chose not to draw his sword, Jacob still bowed down before him out of genuine respect. Just between us, we all have things in our past that we aren't exactly proud of. But you have to understand that it is time to finally make peace with those messy parts, to forgive yourself, forgive others, and be willing to ask for forgiveness. If you truly want to build a new reality, you simply cannot be at war with your past. If you don't look the way you've always dreamed, or if your body is out of shape and you have some weight you know it's time to lose, stop being so angry at yourself. If you try to make a change while constantly reminding yourself of everything you hate about your body, you are just going to stay stuck exactly where you are. If this sounds familiar, my advice to you is this: start by actually loving the body you have right now. Buy clothes that flatter you and make you feel confident, and while you are feeling good in your own skin, start putting in the work to change. If you feel like you've spent your life stuck in negative or toxic relationships, you don't need to constantly obsess over what you did wrong. And you definitely need to stop telling yourself the story that you just attract bad people. The very first step is to forgive yourself for the time you feel you wasted. Once you finally let that go, you will be open and ready to receive a completely new, healthy relationship. To build your good future, the beautiful reality you deserve to live in, you need to acknowledge your mistakes, but not let them control you. When you make peace with your past and tie up loose ends, it stops controlling you, and you can direct your energy toward building. The moment Jacob stopped running away, he built an empire. It wasn't thanks to his mother, who protected him, and it wasn't because of his father's blessing. He agreed to go through the journey, from disguising himself as his brother, to sleeping on rocks, all the way to asking for forgiveness. Your reality is waiting for the moment you stop pretending and start building something extraordinary, something special, just like you. And now, I invite you to let this message resonate and define the reality you are creating for yourself. So what is it that you want to change in your life? What are you willing to do for it? And which part of today's message spoke to you the most? Let us know in the comments. You are in good company, and when you put it out there, things start to move. All of us can relate to moments like these. Something in our life throws us into an emotional storm. Someone hurts us, or something happens from the outside that we never saw coming and had no way to prepare for. Sometimes our emotions reach the edge because of something truly extreme, and sometimes it is something much more momentary. Hunger after not eating all day, exhaustion from worry and work, the sting of hearing that someone said hurtful things about us. And when that happens, the whole world shrinks down to one single point: what we're feeling right now. And in moments like that, many of us are ready to burn bridges, let go of our principles, and make decisions that bring immediate relief but carry a long-term cost. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. Today, I want to invite in one of the less popular figures in the Bible, Esau, a man who lived from the gut, a man of great physical and emotional power, a man who lived in the moment and paid the price for it. And we are not only going to tell his story, we are going to look closely at what happens when we let the Esau within us lead our lives. We are going to ask whether we really have a choice and how, even when life puts us in front of real challenges, we can still make the right decisions. We first meet Esau in the book of Genesis. Rebekah, Isaac's wife, is unable to conceive. After 20 years of prayer and waiting, the miracle finally comes. But instead of peace, she feels something unsettling. There is a struggle inside her, a strange unrest she cannot explain, and it becomes so intense that she goes searching for answers. And the answer she receives is a startling prophecy. She's told that she's carrying twins, but not just any twins. Her two sons will become two different nations. Each one will carry a completely different way of seeing the world, and they will struggle against one another until in the end, the older will serve the younger. Then, the moment of birth arrives. The first one to come out is Esau, and from the very first moment, he's impossible to ignore. He is red-haired, a baby who already seems to radiate unusual strength and raw life. He's the firstborn, the older son, the one who seems destined for leadership and inheritance. Right after him comes Jacob. And in the story, there's nothing especially striking about his appearance, except for one detail. As he comes out, he is holding on to his brother's heel. That grasp becomes yet another sign of the struggle between them, a struggle that begins in the womb and follows them throughout their lives. As the two boys grow up, they become very different from each other. Jacob is drawn to home, to the tents, to a quieter and more inward kind of life. He stays close to his mother, cooks, and seems naturally connected to the more reflective, spiritual side of things. He's the son Rebekah loves most. Esau is his opposite. He belongs outdoors. He's a hunter, rougher by nature, a man driven by what is happening right now. And he's the son his father loves most. After Isaac's father, Abraham, dies, Jacob is cooking a pot of red lentil stew. That same day, Esau goes out into the field and comes back exhausted, and not just tired, finished. He describes himself as if he's about to die. Some even say he hadn't simply gone out hunting, but that this was the first time he had killed another man. Not because he was threatened, but because something in him wanted to take what didn't belong to him. Esau comes in at the height of all that intensity, sees the food Jacob has made, and asks him to feed him. He's so exhausted that he feels like he can't even eat on his own. When I think about that moment, I can almost picture it in our own time. All that drama over one bowl of food, but that's exactly how it can be sometimes. One passing emotion takes over, and before you know it, it's driving every decision and every move. Jacob sees the moment for what it is. He realizes Esau is vulnerable, and he decides to use that to his advantage. So he offers him the stew in exchange for the birthright, and this is not some small bargain. This is the inheritance. This is the right to carry forward everything Isaac has built. And Esau, he treats his future lightly. He's willing to sell his birthright just to satisfy what he feels right now. He tells Jacob that if he's about to die anyway, then what difference does the birthright even make? And that's how he lets a passing emotion lead him without stopping to think about the price he will pay later. Years pass and Isaac grows old. He calls Esau and asks him to go out into the field, bring back food, and prepare it for him, so that he can give him his blessing before he leaves this world. Rebekah overhears the conversation, and while Esau is out in the field, she convinces Jacob to take the blessing for himself. But this is not easy. Jacob knows he sounds nothing like Esau, and since Isaac can no longer see, he also knows his father will try to recognize him by touch. So Rebekah dresses him in Esau's best clothes and covers his hands and the smooth part of his neck with goat skins, so that he will feel hairy like his brother. Dressed like Esau, Jacob goes in to stand before his father, and the plan works. He receives the blessing. But the moment he leaves the tent, Esau walks in. He comes ready to receive his father's blessing, only to hear Isaac tell him that it has already been given to his brother. And in true Esau fashion, the pain of that moment comes out with full force. He lets out a great and bitter cry, and he swears that once Isaac is gone, he will kill Jacob, the brother who took the blessing that was meant for him. Rebekah hears what Esau has sworn, and she tells Jacob to run, to go far away. She knows his life is in danger, and she's willing to let him go, to lose having him close, if that's what it takes to keep him alive. Jacob sets out on a journey that will last 20 years, and along the way, he will have to face what he has done and grow into the man he's meant to become. In time, he marries, builds a large family, and creates an entire world of success around himself. And still, none of that success truly satisfies him. Esau, for all the way he lived in the moment and for all the anger he carried toward Jacob, still remained deeply devoted to his parents. He honored them, cared for them, and stayed by their side until the day they died. 20 years pass. Jacob has built a family, but something in him is still unresolved. He wants to go back home and make peace with Esau. By now, he is already a man in his own right, strong and respected, and yet he still longs for forgiveness while at the same time, he is afraid of his brother. Jacob begins preparing for what comes next. He plans to return home with his family, and he sends gifts ahead to his brother, hoping Esau will forgive him. But then he hears something terrifying. Esau has not forgiven him. He's coming out against him with 400 men. And if you ask why he would need that many, I imagine Esau is not thinking only about killing Jacob. He wants to destroy everything Jacob represents. Everything he feels was taken from him, including his family and his children. So Jacob gets ready to defend himself. But then something unexpected happens. When he finally comes face to face with Esau, his brother does not reach for his sword. Instead, this man who had lived with such force, whose anger had burned for years, the very man who once swore he would kill him, runs toward him and embraces him. Jacob bows before him, and in that moment, the two brothers make peace. But Esau's story does not end there. While Jacob returned to the land of Canaan, Esau moved away from his brother and settled in Edom. Their lives had separated, and they no longer remained together. And when Jacob passes away, his sons want to bury him beside his father in the cave of Machpelah. But Esau refuses to give up what he believes is rightfully his, and from that moment, a conflict begins, which ends with Esau's death. Throughout his life, Esau was a man of great force, with powerful emotions, and still, he's not really the villain of the story. Yes, he burns with anger, but he also loves his parents. He continues to care for them, to honor them, and to be there for them all the way to the end of their lives, while Jacob, the son who was so deeply loved by his mother, goes far away and is no longer there beside her. The story of Jacob and Esau can be hard to sit with. It's full of emotion, and at times it almost feels like Esau was the one who got used, while the story's sympathy seems to rest more easily with the other brother. But even though Jacob is the central figure, Esau still has something important to teach us about our own lives. And before I move into the lessons and share what I take from this story, I want you to notice something important. Esau does not simply disappear. No, he does not receive the birthright, but he takes his strength and builds a whole new reality in Edom. The Bible tells us that kings were already ruling there long before Israel ever had a kingdom of its own. Esau built a new reality for himself, one of power, wealth, and influence. He created a whole world shaped by strength, and that is really the story of Esau's life. Great power, but also the price of living too much in the here and now. One moment in his life could lift him very high, and another could explode and destroy everything. And the truth is, this story can become our story too. We all know what it feels like when one moment throws everything off. Sometimes it is something big, like losing a job and suddenly not knowing what comes next. And sometimes it is something much smaller, like a flat tire on the way to a meeting, but even that can be enough to shake your whole day. That kind of moment can pull us into a very negative place. And when we react too quickly, the effect of that moment can stay with us for years. That is why I want us to look at Esau's story and ask what it can teach us about managing our emotions in the world we live in today. I want us to focus on 3 main points in this story, and through them understand what we actually need to do if we don't want moments like these to end up costing us so much later on. The first point is knowing how to recognize your bowl of red stew. Esau looked at that bowl of red stew, and in that moment, nothing else mattered to him. That stew is every moment of exhaustion, hunger, hurt, weakness, and overwhelm. Our world moves so fast, and there are so many things that can push us right to the edge and make us react from that place. That bowl of red stew can be anything. It can be something someone said to you, something you saw, or even something that has nothing to do with you and still hits a nerve. And from that one moment, the result can be drastic. Quitting on the spot, hurting people you love, or walking away from a dream just because right now it feels too hard. And if you want to keep a moment like that from turning into real damage, the first thing is to recognize it when it comes. To notice that red. Because when we make decisions in the heat of emotion, we usually make the wrong one. The wiser move is to stop, take a breath, and make one simple rule for yourself. Respond tomorrow. This can happen to any of us. We get flooded. We feel like we have to react right now. But true strength is the ability to wait. If Esau had paused for even a moment, all of that drama could have been avoided, and in the end, he would have received his father's blessing. Here's the rule I want to offer you. Make your biggest decisions tomorrow, not today. Sleep on it. Give yourself time to think, let the emotions settle, and then respond from a clearer mind. If you're thinking about quitting the gym because you're tired of the sore muscles, pause. Look at how far you've already come, or remind yourself of the goal you had when you started, and then decide tomorrow what is actually right for you. And if you feel like you've hit your limit at work because your boss criticized you, pause there too. Ask yourself what you really want, what you would do if you weren't reacting from such a charged place, and what choice would actually serve you best. And this is true in your relationships too, with your parents, your children, your friends, your partner. There are endless examples, but the principle is always the same. The decision that matters most should be made when you are calm. The second point is learning to fill your reserves before they run dry. Esau's mistake did not begin the moment he saw the bowl of red stew. It started earlier than that. The real mistake was arriving at such a critical moment when he was already drained, exposed, and at his weakest. And the truth is, he did not have to reach that moment like that. Building a strong life is not just about knowing what to do once your emotions have already taken over. It is also about knowing how to keep yourself from getting there in the first place. Think about it. When you are not sleeping enough, not eating in a balanced way, and loading too much onto yourself, there comes a point where you simply cannot hold it all anymore. All of us can look back and see moments when we made life harder for ourselves. But once you understand what tends to push you to the edge, you can start preventing those moments before they happen. I want to suggest a different approach. Prevention. Don't wait until you are completely drained. Learn to notice when your reserves are starting to run low and stop there. Look at your schedule. See where you can ease the load. And if you need help, ask for it. Don't take on another project when you already know you're overwhelmed. Don't stay up for one more episode when you already know it's time to sleep. Don't skip a nourishing meal. Build yourself an environment that doesn't pull you in every direction just because of what's happening around you. Remember, in a moment of crisis, you are more vulnerable, and prevention is always better than damage control. When you are overwhelmed and at the edge, any bowl of lentil stew can look like the answer to what you need, when in reality, the price you pay may be far greater. This is your moment to stop, to begin organizing the reality around you, to look life straight in the eye, and to build a protective wall around the future that belongs to you. That way, life can keep moving without overwhelming you. Because when you are strong enough to understand the situation, you can begin creating the future you truly want. The third point is the ability to forgive. Forgiveness is a tremendous force. Esau taught us a powerful lesson when he forgave his brother, because through that forgiveness, he was finally able to keep living his own life and build a world of his own. The only problem is that Esau waited 20 years for Jacob to ask for his forgiveness. He waited for Jacob to find the right moment to come back and make peace when he could have left the whole story behind years earlier. Now, I'm not saying you have to forgive everything, but I am saying that if there is something still weighing on you, something that keeps you awake at night, someone you feel you still need to settle things with, that pain is still living inside you. And only when you're able to leave it behind can you truly move on. You may have been in a relationship that wounded you. Not necessarily physically, but it was not good for you. Maybe you fought all the time. Maybe you got stuck in endless arguments over who said what to whom, and even now, it still takes up space in your mind. Let me tell you something. As long as you stay focused on who was right, what should have happened, and what should have not, you're still trapped inside that negative story. If you want to move on, give yourself permission to do it. Forgive, not necessarily the other person and not necessarily out loud. But first, let go of this story and allow yourself to move forward. Remember, your emotions can be excellent fuel, but they can also lead you into the wrong decisions. When you learn to listen to your heart, stay connected to what you feel, and still let your mind lead, you can build a powerful reality that lasts and keeps moving you forward. Tell me what touched you most in this story, and if you haven't watched the video about Jacob and Esau yet, you can find it at this link. Studies show that only 21% of people actually feel engaged in what they do at work. But what about everyone else? They're simply going through the motions. They show up, do the job, get through the day, and move on. It's not that they aren't working hard. They are doing exactly what's expected of them. But that sense of meaning is completely missing. They are basically just surviving one day at a time. And let's be honest, that is a really exhausting way to live because that feeling never just stays at work. Most people wake up, work, eat, sleep, and start the whole cycle all over again. They keep functioning, but over time, something inside them just shuts down. And then comes that moment where, on the outside, they seem to be holding it all together, but on the inside, they feel completely stuck. And when life lacks focus, meaning, and a sense of real choice, it starts to feel a lot like slavery. I'm not talking about iron chains or back-breaking physical labor. It's a modern-day kind of slavery, a reality that completely controls you while you have absolutely no idea how to change it. But today, we are going to change that. We are going to step into an ancient story, the story of the Exodus from Egypt. It's a story people usually associate with big miracles, but this time we are going to focus on just one thing, the journey from slavery to freedom. For this video, we are going to dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the Bible, looking at it from a fresh angle that is deeply relevant to our lives right here and now. And because I believe in taking real action, not just talking about it, I am also going to give you an exact step-by-step roadmap to go from slavery to freedom in just 7 days. Because the Exodus isn't just a history lesson about something that happened a long time ago. It is a story about exactly how slavery takes root and how the journey to freedom really begins. And the part that might surprise you the most is that this slavery wasn't just about hard physical labor. It was an entire system designed to erase people and completely strip away their ability to choose. Now, because this story has so many different layers, today we are going to focus on just one. We'll come back and explore the other angles of the Exodus in other videos. The story of the Exodus actually begins long before the slavery even started. It starts in the most personal place imaginable, right inside a single family, the family of Jacob, living in the land of Canaan. Jacob has 12 sons, but Joseph is the clear favorite. Now, Joseph is a bit of a unique kid. He starts talking about these grand dreams where he's basically leading everyone else. He constantly stands out from the rest, and his brothers really don't like it. They resent the special treatment their dad gives him, especially when he gets that famous special striped coat. and they definitely don't appreciate him acting like he's better than them. Something inside them just locks up, and while it would be easy for us to judge them, we can actually look at this as the exact moment where a different kind of slavery begins, one that starts on the inside. Jealousy is a very real kind of pain. It comes from a deep feeling of being unappreciated. And when the brothers focus all their energy on who is getting more and the special treatment Joseph receives, they completely stop moving forward. They become prisoners to the things they don't have. It's a quiet kind of slavery, one that breeds deep negative emotions that start driving every single decision the brothers make. They simply can't handle Joseph or the special treatment he gets, so they decide to just get rid of him. They sell him to a group of Ishmaelites, who then turn around and sell him to a man named Potiphar down in Egypt. And it doesn't stop there. The woman of the house makes up terrible false accusations against Joseph, which eventually lands him straight in an Egyptian prison. Joseph ends up in an Egyptian prison, in a country that isn't his. And yes, at this point, he is in a deeply uncomfortable place. Life looks absolutely nothing like it used to, and he no longer has his father there to protect him. But even so, he continues to be exactly who he is. He keeps on dreaming, and he doesn't hold back. He shares those dreams with the other prisoners and the guards. He actually manages to interpret the dreams for the people in prison with him, earning the nickname Joseph the Dreamer. At first, this might not seem like a big deal, until the moment Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, starts having some really strange dreams of his own. He is deeply troubled by them and has no idea what they mean. But when he finally shares this with the people around him, they tell him about a guy sitting in prison who just happens to know exactly how to solve dreams. And now, everything is about to change. Pharaoh decides to bring Joseph in to see if he can make sense of his dreams, and sure enough, he does exactly that. One day, Pharaoh comes to him and tells him about his dream, where first, 7 fat, healthy, and well-fed cows appeared. But then, 7 incredibly thin, starving, and scrawny cows showed up right after them, and they actually devoured the healthy, fat cows. While Pharaoh is deeply troubled, Joseph breaks the dream down with complete clarity. The 7 fat cows represent 7 incredible years of plenty that are about to hit Egypt. 7 years of massive harvests and abundance, where life will be good and food will be everywhere. But right after that, there will be 7 years of a brutal, devastating famine. A famine so severe, it will completely swallow up all the abundance that came before it. Joseph doesn't just stop at interpreting the dream. He explains exactly what it means for real life. He tells Pharaoh that over the next 7 years, they need to gather up the harvests, build massive storehouses, fill them to the brim, and prepare for what is coming. Because if they wait until the famine actually hits, it will be way too late. Pharaoh is deeply impressed. He immediately pulls Joseph out of prison and puts him in charge of the entire harvest, giving him an incredibly powerful role. And just like that, Joseph's early dreams actually come true. He finally finds himself in a position of real significance, exactly what he kept telling his brothers would happen all those years ago. Joseph steps into his new role and executes it faithfully. He oversees the building of massive storehouses, gathers the grain, and makes absolutely sure the king will have enough to provide for his people. But what does this generosity actually cost? We are about to find out. During those 7 good years, the Egyptians are thriving. And it's not just them, all the surrounding nations are completely full and satisfied. Absolutely no one is thinking about the future or worrying about a day when the food might actually run out. But after those 7 years, the abundance completely dries up, and suddenly, people are starving. Hunger starts in the stomach, but it very quickly creeps into the mind and completely takes over, and rightfully so. Looking for a solution, the people turn to Pharaoh begging for food, and he points them straight to Joseph, who is in charge of the entire supply. I hinted earlier that Joseph's actions would come at a price. The people come to Joseph, who sells them food. In the beginning, they have the means to pay for the grain, but the famine drags on for years, and as time goes by, they have less and less left to offer in return. At first, the people bring money, but soon enough, it runs out. Then they start bringing their livestock and the most valuable possessions from their homes. But eventually, all of that is gone too. The only thing that doesn't stop is the hunger. At this point, everyone is completely dependent on the king. And when they have absolutely nothing left to offer, they offer themselves. They hand over their lands and agree to work for him just so they can keep living. This is the exact point where slavery begins to take shape, not with anger and not in chains, but out of a complete lack of choice. And when we feel like we have no options, or when we simply cannot see the choices in front of us, we ultimately surrender our freedom. The brutal years of famine led to a reality where people involuntarily gave up absolutely everything they had, working for one reason only: just to stay alive. Possibly at this stage you can already relate to parts of this story, or at least see how it still plays out in our modern world. People are living just to survive, simply trying to get through another day, and even if they aren't physically starving, they feel completely dependent on some outside force, unable to find a way to break the cycle and actually start living for themselves. Let's get back to the story. The famine wasn't just hitting Egypt, it spread all over the surrounding region, including the land of Canaan, and the Israelites start looking for solutions. When they hear the rumor that Egypt actually has food, Jacob asks his sons to go down and check if it's true. But when they arrive, they discover something completely unbelievable. Joseph, their brother, is still alive. And not only is he alive, but he is truly in a key position of power, exactly like he always told them he would be. But Joseph isn't angry. Instead, he tells his brothers to bring the entire family, promising that he will take care of everyone. He doesn't demand money or honor. He simply asks to see his father again. The brothers travel back to Canaan and tell the Israelites that there is food in Egypt, setting off a massive movement of people heading to the one place where they can actually find something to eat. Now, it's important to understand that they don't arrive as slaves. They come to settle in a new place that offers food, security, and stability. And that is exactly what happens. They aren't looking for a deeper meaning. They simply want to live. And throughout Joseph's entire lifetime, the Israelites work, settle in, have many children, and establish themselves as a community within the country. Everything seems fine. Generations pass, and eventually, Joseph passes away. A new king comes into power, and the story describes it like this: a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. In other words, this new king, who is also called Pharaoh, as that was simply the title for the ruler at the time, has absolutely no memory of all the good things Joseph did for the country. He looks around his kingdom and wants to make it as magnificent as possible. Then he looks at the Israelites, working, raising their children, and enjoying a good, prosperous life, and he sees their prosperity as a problem. In Pharaoh's eyes, the success of others looks exactly like a threat. It doesn't matter that they originally came to Egypt just to survive, and it certainly doesn't matter that Joseph had literally saved the entire kingdom. To Pharaoh, their continuous growth looks like a direct threat that could eventually rise up against him, so he decides to turn them into slaves. This enslavement included crushing taxes, brutal forced labor to build the cities, and grueling work in the fields under strict coercion. At this stage, the Israelites actually cooperate. A few taxes are something you can handle at first, but then the labor just gets harder and harder. It doesn't happen overnight, though. It happens gradually, which is exactly why it works. And when I talk about slavery in our modern world, it is actually quite similar. This can show up in our own lives in all sorts of ways. For instance, people don't just fall into massive debt overnight. They do a little extra shopping, stretch their credit limit just a bit, and then a little more and a little more, until suddenly they find themselves trapped in debt with interest rates so high that it's incredibly hard to climb out. This can happen in romantic relationships too. A destructive relationship might start out as a great love, where you simply ignore the red flags until it eventually leads to completely losing yourself and living a life of misery. It happens in the workplace as well. You might have a great salary, but you're in a toxic environment, feeling like you just have to swallow the abusive behavior simply to bring home a paycheck. Reality can be hurtful, but because we get used to it, we just go along with what we have and don't try to change it. Sometimes the voices around us might tell us that this is just the way it is. Everyone lives on credit. Everyone compromises at some point in their relationships, and everyone just has to bring in the money. But right here, at this very stage, I want to tell you that this simply isn't true. You can actually live without maxing out your credit cards. Romantic relationships can be absolutely wonderful, and you can make a living while actually enjoying the journey along the way. Let's get back to the story and find out exactly how. Pharaoh sees that the Israelites just keep working. Even when the labor is brutally hard, and despite all his harsh decrees, they continue to grow and thrive. So he decides to strike at their very future, demanding that the Hebrew midwives kill all the newborn male babies. But the midwives refuse to cooperate. They claim to Pharaoh that the women know how to give birth on their own, even before they arrive, which is why they haven't been carrying out his orders. In response, Pharaoh issues a new, horrifying command. Every newborn boy is to be thrown into the Nile, the great river of Egypt, while allowing for the baby girls to live. The Israelites are willing to work hard, but harming children is a completely different story. And this is exactly where we start to see a real shift in the narrative. In our world, we might say that Pharaoh finally crossed the line. From this moment on, a change in mindset begins. Their entire perception of slavery shifts, and the Israelites' deep desire for freedom starts to awaken and grow stronger. Right in the middle of this horrifying decree, Moses is born, and his mother decides to hide him for 3 months until he gets stronger. After 3 months, she prepares a small basket for him and places it right on the edge of the Nile River, desperately hoping he won't be killed like all the other babies. She then asks her daughter Miriam to hide nearby and keep watch, just to see what will happen to him. Pharaoh's daughter, Bithiah, finds Moses and decides to embrace him and take him in. She holds him close, and right then, Miriam approaches her and offers to find him a wet nurse, a woman, a mother who can feed him until he is strong enough to eat like all the other children. And that is exactly what happens. Miriam takes Moses right back to their own mother, and when he grows up, Bithiah takes him back and raises him in the palace as if he were her very own son. The action taken by Moses' mother and Miriam is a crucial moment in the story. It tells us that not everyone was willing to just listen to King Pharaoh, and it shows us the beginning of resistance. Even if it's small, even if it seems like it doesn't count, it starts at a certain point, a turning point that ultimately shapes the future. By the way, this is exactly what happens in our own lives. Absolutely nothing changes unless we take that first step. Moses grows up in Pharaoh's house, and during this time, the Israelites are beginning to feel completely exhausted. They cry out for help, desperately wanting to break free, but it doesn't happen just yet. What does happen, however, is that the Israelites begin to unite, finding their shared purpose. And even if it will take a few more years for actual change to arrive, they are finally starting to prepare for it and actively ask for it. When the Israelites begin to think about transitioning from slavery to freedom, they actually start doing a completely different kind of work. This isn't just more physical labor. It is spiritual, internal work that is equally important. They start to imagine what their lives could look like if they were no longer slaves, and they begin to cooperate and truly unite with one another. When we want to make a change, the very first thing we need to do is imagine it, start asking for it, and take active steps to achieve it. Because if we don't take action, absolutely nothing will change. It's not always simple, and to be honest, it isn't always easier than physical labor. Now, Moses knows all along that he isn't Egyptian. He understands that he belongs to the Israelites. And as he grows up, he goes out into the kingdom to witness the suffering of his people. He genuinely wants to see what is happening. And then he encounters a situation where an Egyptian official is beating a Hebrew slave. He intervenes and kills the Egyptian. Pharaoh hears about what Moses did, and he wants to kill him. Moses flees far away to a place called Midian, where he gets married, starts a family, and becomes a shepherd. Overall, he lives a quiet life, completely different from the slaves back in Egypt, but not for long. One day, an unusual scene unfolds before him. A fire is burning from within a bush, yet it doesn't burn it up. He steps closer to the bush to see what is going on, and he hears a call directed specifically at him. It isn't a huge, terrifying call, but rather a deeply personal one. God is calling him to stand up for his people and save them. In response, Moses isn't happy. He never intended to be the hero who saves the Israelites, nor to stand up to Pharaoh. Moses is afraid not just of facing the most powerful king in the world, but he is also terrified that he won't be able to lead the people, and that they simply won't trust him. He knows that it is actually easier to confront an evil force than to expect people to change their own behavior. And yet, ultimately, he accepts the mission. Moses has to go through a personal journey of his own. He is a regular, simple man, a shepherd who didn't grow up with his people, and now he has to go to them and make them believe that there is hope. These are people who were born into slavery, who never knew what freedom is, and who might not even be ready to change their own future. And Moses has to make them believe that things can actually be better and to want to follow him on a journey into the unknown. And of course, he also has to face Pharaoh. God strengthens Moses and gives him his brother Aaron to help him. This means he doesn't have to do everything all by himself. There is someone supporting him, and he is going to have an environment that will help him do exactly what he needs to do. It is exactly like that in our own lives. Even when we are ready to make a change, we need someone to believe in us, and we need to find a strong anchor we can rely on, because we don't always truly trust ourselves to be able to take that step. Moses knows his own shortcomings. He doesn't try to be someone he isn't, and he has to go through a personal journey of his own, which is no less important than the journey of the Israelites. This means Moses actually has 3 missions. He has to convince himself that he is the right person for the job. He needs to shift the mindset of the Israelites, and on top of that, he has to face the evil king and get him to let the Israelites go. These are massive tasks, because true change, and certainly liberation, doesn't just happen overnight. Moses arrives before Pharaoh, who simply laughs at him. He tells him that he doesn't recognize his God, he will not let his people go, and on top of that, he actually worsens the conditions for the Israelites. It is a double failure. A failure facing Pharaoh, but also a failure facing the very people Moses is supposed to lead. The people come to Moses and his brother with complaints. Not only did Moses fail to set them free, but their conditions have become even worse, and they blame him for it. Following the command he was given, Moses goes to the elders of the people, those who know slavery all too well, and tells them how God revealed himself to him. They decide to follow him, but with lingering doubts. On one hand, they desperately want to change their situation. On the other hand, their entire lives have been spent in slavery, and now they have to simply trust Moses' words. Together, they arrive before Pharaoh once again, who dismisses them yet again, and in order to prevent the Israelites from resisting him, he decides to make their labor even harder. The Israelites are actually suffering more and more. The work is getting harder, and there might be a reason for this, and it isn't just Moses' request. Think about it. You might know that you need to make a change in your life, improve your relationship, get a raise, but right now, you are living a life that is just okay. Sometimes, it is only when we reach the absolute edge that we are truly ready to make a change, and the Israelites were exactly like that too. This doesn't mean that we actually want to suffer, but rather that sometimes we are willing to put up with a situation that doesn't serve us and simply isn't good for us, just because we don't want to take the risk. We aren't ready to make a change, and we are genuinely afraid to set out on an unfamiliar path when we have no idea if it will be better or perhaps even worse. The suffering people don't bring their complaints to Pharaoh. They know Pharaoh and are well aware of his cruelty. Instead, they bring their complaints to Moses, because if he hadn't come forward with his demands, everything would have just stayed exactly as it was. The situation might not be good, but at least it is familiar. Moses is frustrated, turns to God, and receives a promise that he will soon have the tools to face Pharaoh, and indeed, eventually God unleashes plagues upon the Egyptians. Moses arrives before Pharaoh asking him to let his people go, and Pharaoh refuses. In return, God unleashes a plague upon the Egyptians, and all the water in the kingdom turns to blood. This is true for all the water, except for the water the Israelites drink. The Egyptians are terrified of what has come upon them, and Pharaoh, who wants to be perceived as a strong king, is willing to let the Israelites go in exchange for returning the situation to normal. The moment the water returns to normal, Pharaoh changes his mind and doesn't let the Israelites go. Then another plague strikes the Egyptians and frogs appear everywhere. And the story repeats itself once again, and so it goes for 9 plagues: blood, frogs, lice, wild animals, pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, and darkness. Every time a disaster strikes the Egyptians, Pharaoh promises to let the Israelites go, only to change his mind the moment the situation returns to normal. This continues until the final plague, a plague in which, in a single night, all the firstborn sons of the Egyptians die. This is it. This time Pharaoh lets the Israelites go. He is personally hurt, and Moses calls on the Israelites to organize quickly and set out on a new path. The Israelites did as he said, quickly gathering their things without even having time to prepare food. They reached the vast expanse of the Red Sea, and then Pharaoh began to change his mind. They see the Egyptians chasing after them. So Moses strikes the water and it splits in 2. All the Israelites cross safely, and the waves close in on the Egyptians and King Pharaoh. Now they are no longer slaves, but a whole 40-year journey in the desert awaits them until they reach the promised land, until they can relax and rest a bit. And here we conclude the part of the Exodus story that talks about the transition from slavery to freedom. It is a long story with a lot of meaning, and in the future I will make more videos about it, but here is what we can learn from it. 1. Entering slavery doesn't happen overnight. For the most part, our lives don't change in a single moment. It's not that disasters don't happen, but most of us enter a state of slavery gradually. We compromise at work, do a job that is just okay, accept that the way we are treated is less pleasant and we don't truly confront it. Then, we either accept the situation and somehow live with it, or we actually manage to make a decision to change it. 2. Sometimes we don't take action until something truly breaks us. It's a bit sad to admit, but many of us don't take action until we've truly reached our breaking point. This often happens in relationships. We settle, choosing to ignore the issues rather than trying to fix them, and we start to feel disconnected. Then, eventually, something happens and we realize we simply can't do it anymore. And once things are beyond repair, we break up. All of this happens instead of making a change, trying to reconnect and fixing things at an earlier stage, rather than just compromising. 3. Fixing things and breaking free from slavery is hard work. Breaking free from slavery doesn't mean tossing all your responsibilities aside and relaxing on the beach. It is work in itself. When we want to change something in our lives, we have to make an effort. We have to truly intend to make the change, understand what is required of us, sometimes make a plan, and often we need help, and then we have to actually make the change ourselves. 4. Freedom pays off. The transition from slavery to freedom is rarely an easy process, especially in the short term, but it pays off in the long run. Anyone who has gone through a weight loss journey can relate to this. In the beginning, you have to give up certain foods you love, like sugar, and start exercising, which is tough and leaves your muscles sore. But once the weight starts coming off, when your body stops constantly craving sugar and you feel that post-workout adrenaline rush, it feels absolutely incredible. 5. Not everyone wants freedom, or at least not everyone is willing to put in the work. Sometimes it sounds simple. Surely everyone wants to be free, to be in a better place and in better relationships, to work in a job where they feel they can express themselves. But between us, I'm telling you that this is not the case. Many people want to stay in their current situation and are not willing to make the change. It starts with us, with understanding what slavery is and what it takes to make a change, and the success is entirely ours. Now that we've gone through the fascinating story of the Exodus, moving from slavery to freedom, I want to give you a roadmap to your own freedom. In just 7 days, you can feel completely different, and I'm telling you, it's entirely up to you. And what can you expect? You probably won't completely transform your entire life in 7 days, but within a week, you will be able to see a real shift, make a decision, figure out your next steps, and yes, start feeling better. Within a week, you can take back control, and it will feel like taking your first deep, refreshing breath after a long period of feeling like you were running out of air. Day 1. Define your slavery. To achieve true freedom, you have to look honestly at your reality. Slavery doesn't always look like chains. It can be a lack of time, a lack of energy, or the feeling that you're doing things simply because you have no other choice and you lose control. On the first day, you need to identify the one thing you truly want to change. Without settling, this is the moment to put yourself front and center and write down what your personal slavery looks like. It could be your job, a relationship, money, low self-esteem, food that doesn't nourish your body, anything. Now add this sentence to it. I know I'm there because, and fill in the blank. This is a really important part. It's not just about identifying your slavery, but actually recognizing the signs. It could be exhaustion, anxiety, anger, a lack of joy, or even physical pain, a feeling of being stuck, or anything else you can point to. Finally, to wrap up this day, set a goal for yourself and actually write it down. In 7 days, I want to. Don't aim for a massive goal, but rather something practical, like a feeling of lightness, a sense of order, being able to breathe, or starting your mornings in peace. Remember, you are about to take responsibility for your life, so you need to understand exactly what it's going to look like. Not in the long run, in 7 days. Starting today, you stop telling yourself that everything is fine, that it's okay to settle, to not put yourself front and center, and it is also time to stop blaming external circumstances. From this day forward, you take a hard look at exactly what you want to change, and you keep it right in front of your eyes. Day 2. Putting the control back in your hands. On day 2, it's all about taking back the reins using small tasks. Start your morning by writing down 3 meaningful things you plan to get done today. It might mean putting your phone away for half an hour so you stop scrolling, leaving groups that don't add value to your life, and unfollowing people on social media whose energy just pulls you down. Or it could be choosing to eat at least one healthy meal, getting some exercise, or finally sending that email you've been putting off for ages. And don't just stop at writing down the tasks. Specify exactly what you intend to do and when. From now on, set 3 tasks like this for yourself every single day. Slowly, as they become a habit, you'll be able to add even more. In the evening, I highly recommend checking in with yourself to see what you accomplished, how it made you feel, and which habit you are taking with you into tomorrow. Day 3. Finding your support network. You can start this journey alone, but it will be much easier with a support system around you. The challenge you might face is that it isn't always easy to find someone who will truly push you forward. which is why you need to choose carefully. If you're the kind of person who needs to shout it out to the world, you can absolutely share your journey with everyone. But most of us achieve our goals through personal inner work. Think about who you can truly rely on. It could be your partner, a trainer at the gym, your sister, your mom, or maybe a good friend. If you're already spending time on social media, I recommend you start looking for groups that can actually serve you, supportive groups with similar positive goals. This can become an environment that truly pushes you forward. I also recommend changing your physical environment. Change your phone's lock screen to something that will motivate you to tackle the tasks ahead of you. Put a note on the fridge so that every time you look at it, you are reminded of your goal. Create physical anchors that will strengthen you and help you along your journey. Day 4, it's time to let go of what's weighing you down. Following up on your previous tasks, now is the time to get rid of something. It might sound simple, but modern slavery doesn't just come from the things we have to do. It also comes from the unnecessary burdens we take upon ourselves. Just one more task, one more conversation, one more little thing that ends up turning into something massive. Your task today is to let go of something. This could mean dropping a commitment that isn't doing you any good, asking for outside help, or even breaking a habit that is harming you. You can also physically let go of something like finally organizing that cluttered drawer you've been meaning to sort out for months, but just haven't gotten around to. You actually have to do it, but you also need to remind yourself of how it feels. At the end of the day, write down how you felt when you finally let go of that thing that was weighing you down. Freedom is made up of many different pieces, and one of them is creating a space where you can actually breathe, a space where you feel truly free. Day 5. Now it's a habit. If you took on at least 3 tasks on the first day, created a supportive environment, and lifted some of the weight off your shoulders, now is the time to turn these things into a habit. If you want to eat healthy every day, make a list of foods you actually enjoy and write down when you're going to prep them during the week. Try to be realistic and don't overwhelm yourself. Just 1 or 2 days of prep can give you excellent results. If reducing your time on social media is important to you, install an app that limits your screen time. If you want to improve your relationship, set aside a specific moment each day to compliment your partner. And if you want to elevate your career, write down exactly when this week you are going to approach your boss and ask for a meeting to discuss what your future looks like. It could be to ask for some advice, or maybe you'd like mentorship within the organization, or any other idea. As long as you remember that this isn't a one-time action, but a consistent habit. Day 6, taking a scary step. Okay, the transition from slavery to freedom isn't simple. It takes courage, and you need to understand that freedom comes with a price. But I want you to know that it is absolutely worth it. It's time to make a change, and now is the time to dive right in. This is the day you want to take a bigger step. It's time to look your slavery straight in the eye and act to change the situation, not through small actions, but with one truly significant move. If you want to change your financial situation and reduce your debt, sit down and make a plan. Look at all your accounts, see what you can change, and create an actionable plan that will allow you to turn things around. If necessary, contact the bank to set up a meeting, gather your documents, and start building that plan. If you want to get fit, and I mean really get fit, build a solid plan, join a setting that works for you, a fitness class or gym, and get moving. If you're looking to transform your relationship, get ready to have a conversation. It might be a little tough at first, but it needs to be genuine and come from a good place without any criticism. Think about setting up a date somewhere relaxed and figure out exactly what you want to say to your partner. Focus on what you want to express about yourself, not what you want them to fix, but what you are taking responsibility for and what you'd like to try building together. I know this step takes courage, but you have to actually take it to feel the shift. At the end of the day, check in with yourself. Look at what you accomplished, ask if it pushed you forward, and notice how you felt before, during, and after you took action. I do want to pause here to make one crucial point. If you find yourself in an unhealthy or abusive situation, your very first step is to seek professional help. Day 7. Reflecting on your wins and mapping out next week. Freedom without a framework tends to slip away. On the 7th day, it's time for rest and self-reflection. You can celebrate the steps you've managed to take, your achievements, and the changes you've actually made. This is the time to examine what worked for you, which principles you want to hold on to, and which actions you want to turn into habits. Make a list of at least 3 things you intend to keep doing every single day. Then, think about that major step you took on day 6 and how you plan to keep that momentum going. I suggest you plan out the upcoming week and understand what it will look like with these new changes. Set one significant goal and make sure your environment is set up to support it. This is a wonderful day to enjoy the change, let it resonate, and allow it to strengthen you as you continue on your journey. Once the Israelites left Egypt, they went into the desert and started what became a 40-year journey to reach their land. I definitely don't want it to take you that long to find your freedom, and I honestly believe that real change can happen in 7 days, but I need you to remember that you are stepping into a journey. It's exciting, a little scary sometimes, and comes with results that can completely transform your life. So now, I invite you to get started. Write down in the comments what you want to change and what you're taking away from this video. You're in good company here, and sharing is the perfect place to start. Gideon stands before this great army, and for the first time, he begins to feel a little confidence. Until now, the Israelites had each been left to deal with the Midianites on their own. But now, standing together, they are united by one shared goal: to defeat them. Have you ever felt like reality itself was just too much for you? You have so many challenges and responsibilities, at home, at work, with friends and family. And on top of all that, maybe you've already set personal goals for yourself that aren't really moving forward. You feel like you don't have enough resources, not enough time, maybe not enough connections, and maybe deep down, you simply feel like you don't have what it takes. We all reach that moment. We pull back, we feel the weight of it all, and we would rather stay in our comfort zone, in the place where we feel strong and safe. And that makes sense. We stay there because so often facing the challenge feels like too much. But the problem is that it doesn't really serve us. The greatest lessons in our lives are often found in the very places we keep avoiding. And when I say lesson, I mean growth. I mean personal development, that sense of achievement and the deep satisfaction we enjoy so much. And if you want to understand how to move from where you are now to a place where you can actually rise to your challenges and how to take the little you have and turn it into much more, then check out the story of Gideon in Judges chapters 6-8, the man who stopped hiding and became a leader. This takes place around 1100 BC in the Jezreel Valley in Judea. After nearly 40 years of peace, a brutal enemy called Midian begins sweeping into the land at every harvest, raiding the fields and leaving the people hungry and afraid. The Midianites are not an empire. They are a brutal collection of tribes, crowds of nomadic raiders who simply want to take whatever they can. They were among the first to domesticate camels, and they used them to ride into the land of the Jews, seize the food, and destroy everything in their path. For 7 years, they leave the people hungry and broken. Gideon is an ordinary man just like the rest of us. He's living in survival mode, and like so many others, he hides the wheat harvested in the spring inside a winepress meant for grapes. It's an enclosed, hidden place, and there he threshes the wheat so no one will see him. A task that should be done out in the open, under the sun, is now being done in secret. all in the hope of saving at least some of the food. The truth is, Gideon had already tried to fight back once. It helped for a moment, but it didn't last. He managed to drive off the tribe that had come against him, but others soon took their place. So by this point, he's exhausted, discouraged, and able to see only the worst. And right there, in that very place, while he's hiding from Midian, and maybe even hiding from reality itself, something unexpected happens. An angel appears before Gideon and says to him, "The Lord is with you, mighty man of valor." Gideon is not impressed by what has just appeared before him. He answers the angel, "If God is with us, then why is everything so bad? Why am I hiding here with a handful of wheat?" In that moment, he gives voice to the feeling that God has abandoned them, and he points the blame outward, at fate, at the circumstances, at the world around him. Honestly, I can understand Gideon's reaction. He had already tried once to change the situation, and it had not worked. So now everything is supposed to change just because a voice tells him it can? The angel does not argue with Gideon. He simply says, "Go in this your strength and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Have I not sent you?" And when he says, "this your strength," he's speaking about the very argument Gideon's making. Gideon is trying to say that he has no strength to fight, and the angel is telling him that his strength is already there. In the protest, in the frustration, in the deep dissatisfaction with the way things are, even in the despair itself. This happens to all of us. We reach that place where we feel like we cannot keep going, like we have hit the bottom, like nothing is working, and the world around us is not giving us what we need. And from that place, we can go in two directions. We can collapse into despair and stop moving, or we can hear what the angel is saying to Gideon. Don't wait for outside approval, and don't wait for someone else to guide you. Use the energy of your frustration to rise and act. Gideon hears these words, and something about them rings true. The situation is desperate anyway. But before he is sent to fight this brutal enemy, he is given a different task first, to tear down his father's altar to Baal. "And you shall destroy the altar of Baal which belongs to your father, and cut down the Asherah pole beside it." In other words, the angel is telling him to put his own life in order first, to deal with his inner world before he tries to build a new reality. At that time, the Israelites believed in God, but they had also absorbed the habits of the people around them, setting up idols in the hope of getting help from anywhere they could. Gideon is being asked to tear down the very altars his own people had built. He is even told to destroy the altar his father put up. Why? Because before you can build a new reality, you have to let go of the beliefs that no longer serve you. Before we begin changing the world outside, we first have to put our own inner world in order. And how does Gideon respond? He is afraid, he hesitates, and still, he understands how important this is, so he does it. He takes 10 men with him, and in the middle of the night, he tears down the idols his father had built. Because Gideon understands something deep. You can't lead people into change while still clinging to the same old beliefs. Breaking the idols is not just a symbolic act. It's not only about declaring that there's one God. It is a way of announcing that the time for change has come. And what happens the next morning? The people of the town wake up, see the destruction, and want to find whoever did it and kill him. And here something unexpected happens. Gideon's father is the one who stands by him. Yes, Gideon has destroyed the altar his father built, but his father understands the meaning behind it. So he says to the men of the city, "If Baal is really a god, let him fight his own battle." As scripture puts it, "Will ye plead for Baal? Will ye save him? If he be a god, let him plead for himself, because one hath cast down his altar." And it's not only the city that begins to change and empty itself of idols. Gideon's name changes too. He's given the name Jerubbaal, a name that sets him apart as someone willing to confront the old order and make space for a new reality. And sometimes that's all that is asked of us. An inner kind of reset of our thoughts, our negative habits, and the things we keep telling ourselves that are no longer helping us. In our world, tearing down the altar can be as simple as replacing "I'm not good enough" with "I'm going to succeed." At this point, it can feel as though everything is happening at once. Gideon's being called to lead Israel. He doesn't really want it, but he's not fully pushing back either. But that's not what's really going on here. Breaking the idols is meant to strengthen him, to show him that nothing bad will happen to him, because those idols are not protecting him, and they are not protecting Israel either. But Gideon is still not at peace. He's still afraid of the Midianites, and he still has doubts when it comes to God. So he asks for a sign. He takes a fleece of wool, lays it on the ground, and asks for this. On the first night, he asks that the dew fall only on the fleece, so that by morning the ground will be dry while the wool is wet. On the second night, he asks for the opposite, that by morning the fleece be dry while the ground around it is wet. It is not a dramatic sign, but it is the sign Gideon needs in order to know that God is with him. The sign Gideon asks for is a deeply human one. We do the same so often. Before we take a step that feels big or life-changing, we want a sign. Even when deep down we already know what we need to do, we still find ourselves looking for some kind of reassurance, just to make sure we are not making a mistake. Gideon's story teaches us that it's okay to pause for a moment and ask for a sign, for some kind of reassurance, as long as the purpose is to gather strength and keep moving forward, not to use our doubts as an excuse to stay where we are. Gideon's test works, and now that he believes he's not alone, he's ready to gather the people. His call begins to spread, and very quickly it becomes clear that he's not the only one longing for change. Within a short time, Gideon gathers a massive army of 32,000 men. Gideon stands before this great army, and for the first time, he feels a flicker of confidence. Until now, the Israelites had each been left to face the Midianites on their own, but suddenly, they are no longer scattered. They are standing together, united by one shared purpose: to defeat them. An army of 32,000 really is a large force. Even by today's standards, that's a huge number of people. But instead of sending them all forward, Gideon receives an instruction that makes no sense at all. God tells him, "The people with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hand, lest Israel boast against me, saying, 'My own hand has saved me.'" In other words, he's being told that he has too many men. He doesn't really need all of them. He needs only the right ones to stand against Midian. Too many people can drain his resources, and too much confidence in numbers can make him lose sight of the real goal. And the same is true in life. When we have too many goals, it becomes hard to focus on what truly matters. When we're overloaded with tools, options, or resources, we can easily lose clarity. Very often, it's better to rely on quality rather than quantity. And that's exactly the lesson Gideon is about to learn. The first thing Gideon does is send home everyone who is afraid, everyone who's trembling, everyone who feels this mission is too big for them. He says, "Whoever is fearful and trembling, let him return home." And what happens? 22,000 men leave at that very moment. I try to imagine what Gideon must have felt. 2/3 of his people are gone, and now he's left with only 10,000. This is the kind of moment where it would be so easy to panic, lose clarity, or turn back. But this is exactly where Gideon begins to learn an important lesson. Fear is contagious. If Gideon had gone into battle with soldiers who were mostly afraid, who didn't believe in themselves, and who didn't really want to fight, he could never have won. And that's the lesson here. If we want to build a new reality, we need the right kind of environment around us. We need to surround ourselves with people whose mindset matches where we're trying to go, not people who are still trapped in fear and when the moment comes, may pull us down with them. But what happens next in Gideon's story? Even the 10,000 men who remain with him turn out to be too many. They're not afraid. But they're not truly ready for battle either. So once again, Gideon has to narrow the group down. And this is where the second and most famous test comes in, the water test. Gideon takes the 10,000 men who remain down to the stream, and there he's told to watch the way they drink. Most of them, tired and thirsty from the journey, drop to their knees and drink without a second thought. But in that moment, their whole attention goes to the need right in front of them. They are brave, but they are not alert either. But there were 300 others. They didn't kneel down. They stayed upright, scooping water into their hands and bringing it to their mouths, while their eyes kept scanning the horizon. Even as they met a basic need, they stayed alert and connected to the mission. Those were the 300 who were chosen. And this is the lesson here about managing resources. So often we think we need more time, more budget, more people. But the truth is, to overcome our challenges, we need our own exact 300. We need that kind of alertness that doesn't let momentary comfort make us lose sight of the bigger goal. Precision is what allows us to take the little we have and turn it into much more. Now Gideon is ready to move forward with 300 chosen men who are not ruled by fear. Before him stands a vast enemy, not a disciplined army, but waves of tribes that come to destroy, plunder, and fight. And Gideon understands that what will bring victory is not sheer force, but precision. He has to use the people he has wisely, not by following the usual way of fighting, but by doing something different, letting go of what is familiar in order to do what's necessary. So he divides his 300 men into 3 groups, and to each of them he gives something strange, the kind of equipment no one normally takes into battle. In one hand, he gives them a ram's horn. In the other, an empty jar with a burning torch hidden inside it. They set out without drawn swords and without heavy armor. And then, at the exact right moment, Gideon gives the signal. They all blow their horns and smash their jars at once. Picture the scene. Everything is dark. Everything is silent. And suddenly the silence is broken by the crash of shattered clay, and 300 burning torches flare up at once. In one brilliant move, Gideon creates the illusion of a vast army surrounding the camp. The Midianites panic. They don't see it coming, and in the darkness, they cannot make sense of what is happening. In the confusion, they grab their weapons and begin to fight, not against Israelites, but against each other. In the end, the Midianites themselves hand the Israelites the victory. It's not a victory won through brute force, but through wisdom, precision, and the courage to create a new reality. Gideon's victory was not won by force. It was won through wisdom, precision, and careful preparation. Gideon stopped hiding. He stopped avoiding what was in front of him, and by doing that, he changed his own reality and the reality of the Israelites. So what can we learn from Gideon? First, all of us know what it feels like to be frustrated. All of us face challenges and sometimes even real crises. And if anyone can pull us out of the place we are in, it is us. We may not do it alone, but change begins the moment we find the strength within ourselves to start. In Gideon's case, the power to change came from his frustration. So if life feels bigger than you right now, if your emotions feel intense, this may be the moment to use them as fuel to rise and act. Frustration is often a sign that something deep inside you truly wants change. The second thing is that we need a moment of inner reset. Before we rush out to change the world, we need to stop and ask ourselves, what is holding us back? Is it negative thinking, habits that keep getting in our way, or maybe a kind of disorder? Not only in our inner world, but even in the physical space around us. The first step in building a new reality is changing our habits. If it's something physical, great. You'll be able to see it. And if it's a shift in the way you think, you may not be able to see it with your eyes, but you will feel the difference very quickly. The third thing we take from this story is that precision matters more than quantity. Don't let an overload of tasks or a lack of resources discourage you. And don't tell yourself you need more and more just to feel ready. It's not one more dress you need to go to the job interview you've been dreaming about. It's not one more course you need before you can start the business you have been dreaming about. Most of us don't need more. We need to find the one action that will give us the best result. It may be going for a walk every day, meditation, or preparing for a job interview. But above all, it requires us to stay alert to what we already have, to what is around us, and to what can actually help us move forward, instead of remaining in the place that feels familiar, even when it's no longer good for us. The fourth thing, the thing that truly makes all the difference, is the light. This is the moment to stop hiding, to stop burying your abilities, and step out into the open. It's not easy, but when you break through your outer shell, when you begin to break the reality you've been living in and change it, you may discover a great light. That's exactly what the breaking of the jars was about. Israelites won through light, not through force. And the moment you bring your truth into the world, the enemies that are so often living only in your mind fade away. The moment you're ready to step into a new path, to do something different with clarity and without fear, you begin to see the light and the results. And now, something personal. I have to tell you, every time I share these stories with you, I feel it all over again. There is something magical about discovering how these ancient biblical texts, written thousands of years ago, are still so deeply connected to the reality of our lives today, to our responsibilities, our work, and the deepest parts of what we feel. I want to thank Gideon for the remarkable lessons we've learned from his journey, from the hidden wine press to the burning torch. He reminds us that the strength is already here. It's just waiting for us to sharpen it and use it well. But more than anything, I want to thank you. Thank you for spending these moments with me, and thank you for having the courage to pause, to listen, and to take the first step toward changing your reality. That is something I never take for granted. And if this video meant something to you, watch more videos here on the channel, like and subscribe, so we can keep meeting here in your feed and discover more insights for life together. Thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next video. If you've ever been in a relationship where you felt you couldn't really be yourself just to keep the other person close, this video is for you. If you've ever walked away from a date or a conversation thinking, why do I always end up with people who don't really see me? Or why do I feel like I have to work so hard just to get a little attention? Stay with me. We live in a world that's addicted to drama. We scroll past perfect couples on social media, watch endless love stories for hours, and then quietly wonder why our real-life relationships feel so different, uncertain, draining, or simply tiring. Today, I want to share an ancient story that can completely change the way you look at love and mutual respect. It's not a fairy tale, and it's not a Hollywood script. It's an old story with a lot to say about how we live and love here and now. This is a simple story about two people, Ruth and Boaz, who slowly build a relationship based on warmth, kindness, respect, and trust. And here's what moved me the most. When you really look closely, this ancient story is full of surprisingly modern advice about healthy relationships. By the end of this video, you'll have a few simple ideas you can try in your own life. Whether you're single and dating, in a relationship, or already married, these small shifts can help your relationship feel clearer, kinder, and more respectful. So what is this story really about? On the surface, it's about a woman who loses almost everything, a man who notices her, and how they slowly build a life together, step by step. But underneath, it's really about what mutual respect does to a relationship, how you treat someone who is more vulnerable than you, and what it means to love without games, without manipulation, and without losing yourself in the process. You don't need to come from any particular faith or believe anything specific to get something from this story. You just need to be human, to care about yourself, to genuinely want to love others, and to be willing to let something good into your relationships. This story will show you what it really feels like to be seen and to truly see someone else. What it feels like to be in a relationship built on mutual respect, and what it means to give another person a sense of security and care. Ready? Let's dive in. Our story begins in ancient times. Naomi leaves her home because of a famine. She and her husband take their 2 sons and move to a foreign land. There, her sons marry local women, Ruth and Orpah. And then, everything changes. Naomi's husband dies, and then both of her sons die as well. Now, there are 3 widows, Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah. Heartbroken, Naomi turns to them and encourages them to go back to their families, while she plans to return to her home in Bethlehem. She says to them, "You're still young. Go back to your families. Build a new life. Find a new husband. Start a new home. You don't need to stay here with me in my grief." Orpah listens, kisses them goodbye, and returns to her family. Ruth chooses a different path. Ruth does something incredibly brave. She looks at Naomi, an older, heartbroken woman who has lost almost everything, and says, "Where you go, I'll go. Your people will be my people. Wherever you are, that's where I want to be." She chooses loyalty over comfort. Instead of going back to the familiar, Ruth walks with Naomi into a land she's never seen before, with no guarantees and no idea what the future will hold. The 2 of them arrive in Bethlehem with nothing. No money, no social status, no plan. Ruth understands exactly where they stand and says, "I'll go out to the fields and collect whatever's left over. Maybe someone will let me do that." She doesn't wait for a miracle. She doesn't complain. She just does the next thing she believes is right. This is where Boaz enters the story. He owns the field. He has workers, land, social status, and a solid reputation in his community. In today's language, we'd probably say his life is sorted. He's in a secure position and people respect him. At that time, the law allowed poor people to gather the leftover grain from the fields. That's exactly what Ruth is doing. By coincidence, Ruth ends up in Boaz's field. We could call it chance, but the story is already hinting that something bigger is taking shape. Boaz notices her. He sees a young woman who has been working hard since early morning. He asks who she is and finds out that she came from the land of Moab and that she chose to stay and support Naomi, even though her husband died and she has no obligation to her anymore. At this point, Boaz is already moved by her, maybe even starting to feel something. But he doesn't rush in. He doesn't flirt with her or try out clever opening lines. Instead, he calls her over and treats her with kindness and respect. He tells her, "Stay here in my field. Stay close to the other women, and you'll be safe here. No one will bother you." He even invites her to drink from his well whenever she's thirsty. Later, he also invites her to join the workers for their meal. He makes sure she has enough to eat, and then goes even further, asking his workers to leave extra grain behind on purpose so Ruth can gather more food. Now, let's pause for a moment. Boaz is a man with power. Ruth is a poor, vulnerable woman from a foreign land. Boaz could have ignored her. He could have sent her away. He could have treated her as if she didn't matter at all. Instead, he uses his position to protect Ruth, to treat her as an equal, and to encourage her. He genuinely wants to know who she is. He watches how she cares for Naomi and appreciates the kind of person she is. He notices her loyalty and her courage, and he responds to all of that with respect and honor. Ruth keeps going back to Boaz's field, and Naomi starts to sense something. She notices there's a spark between them. Boaz is a good man, so Naomi gently guides Ruth on how to approach him in a way that honors him and also makes her intentions clear. Ruth doesn't play games. She doesn't manipulate him. She doesn't try to seduce him or pressure him into a relationship. What she actually does is come to him with good, clear intentions. She lets him know she's open to a relationship, that if he's interested, they can move forward, and if he's not, that's also okay, and she will respect his decision. Now that's huge. Boaz responds with the same respect and deep appreciation. He doesn't rush into anything. He wants to do things the right way and make sure that whatever he does is fair and honorable for everyone involved, including Naomi. He doesn't ghost her. He doesn't send mixed signals. He doesn't suggest a secret relationship. Just like Ruth, he's clear about his intentions and takes responsibility for them. The story of Ruth and Boaz is a powerful picture of love with deep roots in kindness. What surprised me most about this ancient story is how relevant it is to our world today, and also how normal it is. There's no confusing drama. There's no, it's just the two of us against the world fantasy. There's a hardworking woman who shows up and is honest about her intentions. And there's a man who notices her, slowly starts to care for her, and acts with integrity. Two people who communicate clearly and treat each other with respect and genuine appreciation. And honestly, it's almost shocking how rare this is today. In our modern world, we almost expect our relationships to look completely different. We're not even surprised when we only get half their attention, or we're kept as the backup option, or we're made to feel like wanting basic respect is too much. The story of Ruth and Boaz is about something very simple. Two people who, in their actions, are basically saying to each other, I see you, I'll look out for you, I'll treat you with respect. It almost sounds unrealistic, but it isn't. Sure, it's not as dramatic as a lot of what we see in shows and movies today, but that's exactly the point. If you're like most people today, your picture of love is probably shaped by two main things: what you saw at home growing up and what you've seen in movies, TV shows, and on social media. You might believe that love can disappear at any moment, that it's built on the fear of being abandoned, that you constantly have to prove you're good enough. Maybe you feel like love is just rare sparks that show up once in a while, and that to keep them, you have to ignore yourself and your own needs, just so the other person won't be disappointed in you. Now compare that to Ruth and Boaz. Ruth doesn't have to prove herself. She's simply who she is: loyal, hardworking, and honest. Boaz doesn't expect her to guess what he feels. He creates a safe space around her and supports her along the way. He makes sure she's okay, and he never takes advantage of her vulnerability. Think for a moment about your own life. Have you ever stayed in a relationship where you felt like you were always on edge? Where you felt ignored most of the time, but you stayed anyway, just so you wouldn't be alone? Do you feel like you have to lower your standards just so someone will choose you? I think a lot of people feel this way about love. That's exactly what makes this story so powerful. It offers us a completely different way to look at love. A love that protects you instead of threatening you. A love where you're not in constant competition with other people or with what you see on social media. A love that moves forward step by step with clear signals and clear words instead of fast drama and 1,000 question marks. Once I really understood the heart of Ruth and Boaz's story, something shifted inside me. I stopped asking, am I loved? And started asking, am I truly loving the person in front of me? I stopped chasing romantic drama and settling for people who weren't really emotionally available to me. Instead, I started paying attention to the smallest things. I asked myself, does the person I'm with, or the person I'm going on a date with, keep their word? Do they treat other people with respect, not just me? Do they care about how their actions affect the people around them? And of course, I turn those same questions back on myself. Because if I expect honesty and respect from someone else, I need to make sure I'm offering them as well. Because here's the thing, Boaz didn't make grand, dramatic moves. He just kept showing up in those small, important ways. Ruth wasn't perfect either, but her courage and loyalty were there, quietly, all the time, even when no one was watching her. They were both simply decent people with strong values, and I started taking those same values into my own life. Instead of getting pulled into loud, messy drama, I started noticing something else. Is the person in front of me genuinely kind? Do I feel a sense of safety and sanity with them? Do they stand by other people even when there's nothing in it for them? You can do the same. You don't need big declarations or grand gestures. You just need to start paying attention to the right things. Let's make it practical. Here are a few small steps inspired by the story of Ruth and Boaz that you can try this week. Step 1. Confidence is the foundation, not a bonus. In every relationship, romantic, family, work, even longtime friends, ask yourself, do I feel confident and appreciated here? And do I truly appreciate and respect the people around me? Don't ask this only once in a while or only on good days. Let this question be a quiet guideline that stays with you all the time. If most of the time the answer is no, if you don't feel confident, don't feel appreciated, or notice that you don't really respect the people around you, that's a sign to pause and change something. What can you do this week? Choose one person you're in a relationship with and notice how you feel around them. How does your body react when they're nearby? Do you feel relaxed, or are you tense, always worried about their next reaction? For now, you don't need to change anything. Just pay attention. Be aware. Step 2. Look for small acts of kindness, not big gestures. Boaz doesn't write Ruth love poems. He makes sure she has water. He makes sure she has a safe environment. He invites her to be part of the group around her. It doesn't look dramatic, but in real life, these are the things that matter most. Make a list of 3 small habits that help you feel appreciated. For example, they send me a message to make sure I got home safely, or they remember things I told them that matter to me, or they put their phone down when I'm talking so they can really listen. These are your Boaz steps. Small things you can actually do. Use them in 2 ways: to notice how other people treat you and to notice how you treat others. Don't expect anyone to put their phone down when you speak if you're not willing to do the same for them. Step 3. Be clear. Ruth doesn't leave Boaz guessing how she feels. She doesn't play games. She doesn't test him. She simply respects him and speaks honestly. In our world today, that might sound like, I really enjoy spending time with you, and I'd like to see if we're a good match. Or, this doesn't feel right for me, and I don't want to continue this relationship. Think about a relationship where the other person wasn't clear and you felt afraid or on edge. Maybe it was on a date, maybe with friends, maybe even at work. Now write down one sentence you wish you had the courage to say out loud. You don't have to say it to anyone yet, but write it for yourself so you know what matters to you and what you stand for. Step 4, be the kind of love you want to receive. If you want a Boaz in your life, start by behaving like Ruth. That doesn't mean you should accept unhealthy behavior, quite the opposite. To build a healthy relationship, you need to become what you're looking for. Loyalty that goes both ways, kindness that creates a sense of security, and honesty that really matters. Be the things you want to have in your life. Think of one person in your life, a friend, a partner, or a family member. Do one small thing this week that shows them you appreciate them. Do something that will actually matter to them. Take a shift they don't want. Run an errand for them like grocery shopping, or send a simple, encouraging text message. You're training yourself to live with the kind of love you want to receive, even if it hasn't fully shown up in your life yet. A healthy relationship is not endless fireworks. Sometimes it's just a woman who shows up in a field to work, and a good man who quietly makes sure she feels safe. Sometimes It's simply two people who are willing to take small, steady steps and choose not to run straight into the drama storm. Ruth and Boaz remind us what real love looks like: emotional warmth, a sense of security, mutual respect, open communication, and simple, everyday kindness. Here's my challenge for you. In the next 24 hours, choose one of the steps from this video and actually do it. Notice how your body feels around other people. Be clear but kind. Make your own Boaz list. Or start doing small, gentle acts of care for the people in your life. Now just notice the change. If this story touched you and you feel it could help shift your relationships, and if you'd like more stories like this, hit subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, I'd love to hear from you. What moved you most in the story of Ruth and Boaz? Let me know in the comments below. There's something you already know you want to change in your life. And still, everything keeps going exactly the same. Maybe it's time for a shift at work, to finally have that conversation about a raise. Or maybe it's not work at all. Maybe it's your personal relationships. Either way, something is holding you back and you feel like you're not moving forward. Sometimes it's a person who makes you feel small, and sometimes it's an inner battle. The result is the same. You avoid moving ahead. You don't get to the place you want to be. And more than that, the place you deserve to reach. You look at the challenge in front of you and you just decide it's better not to face it. It can leave you feeling frustrated and insecure. And I want you to know this happens to all of us. It doesn't matter how old we are, where we live, or what we do for a living. We all have that one thing that feels bigger than us and pulls us down. If any of this sounds like you, and I'm guessing it does because you wouldn't be here otherwise, then you're in the right place. This is the kind of video you'll want to watch all the way through, and maybe even save it so you can come back to it later or send it to someone who needs it. So what are we doing today? Today we're stepping into one of the most well-known stories in the Bible, David and Goliath. And I promise you, this isn't a children's tale. This is the kind of story that can lead to your next breakthrough. We're not just going to retell the story, we're going to get to what it's really trying to teach us. Because once you understand why David and Goliath is in the Bible, you start seeing your own giant more clearly. The challenge that keeps you stuck and stops you from reaching the place you're dreaming about. In this video, I'll break down why you, and honestly, all of us, hesitate when it's time to face the thing in front of us. And most importantly, I'll give you practical tools based on how David approached Goliath that you can use whenever you're up against something big. I promise you, you are capable of facing the big things in your life. And even if you don't know how yet, by the end of this video, the picture will feel a lot clearer. You're going to walk away with a new perspective, practical tools you can actually use, and a clearer sense of what your next step should be. So before we dive in, I want to invite you to think of one thing in your life, one challenge that, right now, feels bigger than you. Something that if it moved out of the way, your life would look completely different. Hold on to that in your mind, because in a moment, you'll see how to start changing it. Now I want us to step into the story of David and Goliath, a young boy facing a giant who looks impossible to defeat. This story is told in 1 Samuel chapter 17. Saul is the king of Israel, and for quite some time, the kingdom has been caught in repeated wars against the Philistines. Our story begins as the two sides, the Israelites and the Philistines, move closer toward each other. Each army takes its position on opposite sides, with the valley of Elah stretching between them. Some say both sides were worn out from years of fighting, And still, they all understood this was the moment for the big, decisive battle, the one that was supposed to end a war that had been going on for far too long. And as the army of Israel takes its position, the soldiers see a massive, threatening man step out from the other side. Goliath. You couldn't miss him. He's described as being 6 cubits and a span tall. He's wearing a bronze helmet, his body is covered in heavy scale armor, and even his legs are protected. Across his shoulders, he carries a bronze javelin, and in his hand he holds an iron spear, described as weighing 600 shekels of iron. I don't know exactly what that would be today, but I'm guessing it was really heavy. So now it's clear, Goliath is the biggest threat you can imagine. He steps into the valley and shouts, telling the Israelites to send out one man to fight him and settle the whole thing right there. No full-scale war, just one champion. If that man wins, the Philistines will be enslaved to Israel. But if Goliath wins, Israel will be enslaved to the Philistines. Now let's pause for a second and notice something. One fight, no massive war. Maybe that's something you can relate to. Because I know I can. Sometimes there's just one thing looming over us, and it feels like if we could just move it out of the way, everything would be so much better. You know, a kind of Goliath. So keep that in mind, and let's keep going. At this point, the story takes us to David's home, the son of Jesse from Bethlehem. Jesse has 8 sons, and 3 of them are serving in Saul's army, waiting for the next battle. David is the youngest. He's out shepherding the sheep, and his father asks him to leave the flock for a moment and bring food to his brothers. So David does. When David arrives at the camp where his brothers are, he sees Goliath, who for 40 days has been coming down into the valley, loudly repeating the same challenge, that someone should come out and fight him. David looks around and realizes the Israelites are terrified. He's curious. He asks what will happen to the man who defeats Goliath. And he understands that whoever wins won't just save himself. He'll save the entire nation. David decides he can fight Goliath, but he's young, and even his own brother laughs at him, at his size, at the fact that he's just a shepherd. Instead of taking David seriously, he mocks him and tells him to go back home. But David doesn't back down. He goes to King Saul and asks to fight Goliath. Saul tells him, "You're just a boy. You don't have battle experience." And on the other side is Goliath, a trained and terrifying warrior. And here, David doesn't try to impress him with fancy words. He tells him his truth. He explains how, as a shepherd, he faced a lion and a bear. And every time one of them tried to take a lamb, he didn't run and he didn't quit. He chased them down and brought the lamb back. David explains that he's already faced real danger before, and he truly believes he can do it again. Saul listens and decides to let him try. He tells his servants to dress David in armor and protective gear. But once David is covered from head to toe, he can barely walk. It's just too heavy. David decides to take it all off and go as he is, in his own clothes. He walks over to the river and chooses 5 smooth stones to use in the fight. He puts them in his bag, along with his sling, and he walks forward with real confidence, grounded in his faith. When he reaches the valley, Goliath looks at him and laughs. He asks if David thinks he's some kind of dog, coming at him with sticks and stones. And then he threatens him, saying he'll leave him as food for the birds of the air. David answers that he's coming in the power of God. He tells him he's going to strike him down, cut off his head, and that Goliath's body will be the one left for the birds. He makes it clear the victory won't come through a sword or a spear, but through faith, and that after this fight, everyone will know there is a God in Israel. And with that, the 2 of them step into the battle. Goliath starts moving toward David. David pulls out a stone, swings his sling, and sends it flying, straight into Goliath's forehead. Goliath collapses to the ground. David runs up, takes Goliath's own sword, and cuts off his head so everyone can see the fight is over. The Philistines see what happened, panic, and run. Now let's identify the giant in your own life. I want us to go deeper into this story, and most importantly, bring it into our lives today. Goliath, tall, powerful, and intimidating, shows up in the valley for 40 days, and every single day he shouts at the other side, provoking them. He doesn't fight, he doesn't throw his spear, and honestly, he doesn't physically hurt anyone, but he does something far more effective. He gets into everyone's head. Over and over, he repeats the message that no one stands a chance against him. And after all those days, no one even dares to fight him. It's not like the other side has no weapons or no battle experience, but fear makes them believe the fight is lost before it even starts. That's exactly what the Goliath in our lives looks like. Intimidating, uncomfortable to face. His words repeat in our head and we react accordingly. And your Goliath doesn't have to be an actual person, like a boss at work. It can also be a situation you're afraid of, a meeting at work, a presentation you have to give, or for some of us, even checking our bank account. We all have thoughts that repeat themselves, and we can all feel that threat, whether it's internal or external. A lot of the time, the Goliath in our life is something that's simply there, our limiting beliefs. And the more we think about it, the more we replay its message in our head, the more vulnerable we become. And we start looking for a corner to hide in instead of stepping out and facing it. So what does that actually mean? If you want to move forward, and I know there's a place you want to get to, the first thing you need to do is identify the Goliath in your life. You know it's not that everything in your life is falling apart. Most things are fine. It's just that there's one thing you want to shift. And you don't need to change your whole life for that. Take a second and name what you're really up against, and I want to guide you through a quick exercise. You don't need to write anything down. You can do it in your head. Just answer this. What's the one thing you've been dodging lately? What do you keep pushing off again and again because it feels overwhelming? The thing you know, if it shifted, you'd feel lighter, more free, and more at peace. Don't overthink it or make a long list. The first thing that comes to mind is perfect. Maybe it's a conversation about money, telling someone their behavior isn't okay, or being afraid to apply for a role that's bigger than the one you have now. Whatever popped into your head first, that's the first thing to focus on. Right now, that's your Goliath, and you don't need to do anything about it yet. No battle plan, no big brave moment, just give it a name. And why does that one label matter? Because you can't fight everything at once. You need a starting point. And recognizing the Goliath in your life is a big moment. It's no longer you versus total chaos. It's you versus one specific thing, something that's probably really significant, but also something you can face. It's exactly like the story. There are two armies. There's a war. But in the end, everything comes down to one figure, standing there right in the middle of the valley. And the moment you know what your Goliath is, you can start finding ways to face it. One more thing I want to tell you. You're not starting from zero. Remember how David came to King Saul and told him he had already beaten the lion and the bear? Well, let me tell you something. You've already collected wins in your life too. Sure, like David, you might not have specific experience with this next big thing, but you do have strengths, knowledge, and good qualities that can carry you forward. Self-doubt can come from the environment around you. If you've heard again and again that you don't have enough experience or that other people are more suited for the role you're dreaming about, it makes sense that your confidence took a hit. And that's normal. But notice what David does. He doesn't try to pretend he's someone else. He doesn't make up stories. He tells his story. A lion and a bear came and grabbed a lamb, and he didn't run. He chased them down and brought it back. Why does he tell him that? Because he wants the king to understand. He's been in a fight before, on his own, protecting what mattered to him, and he didn't fall apart. And the truth is, he's saying it to Saul, but he's also saying it to himself. He doesn't need to reinvent himself. He just needs to remember what he's already done. And that's what I want you to take from this. You're not walking into your next challenge, your own Goliath, from scratch. You already have a history of brave moments, real moments. And no, nobody handed you a medal for them, but they still count. And now I want you to think about the lions and bears in your own life. For David, they were real predators. For you, they're the times you were tested and you still kept going, the time you kept functioning even when you were falling apart inside, the transition you made and handled, the decision you made and stood by, the crisis you got through, the relationship that changed, and you found your way through it. Maybe it was something physical, emotional, or family-related that you had no idea how you'd get through. And somehow, you did. It probably wasn't something that got attention, and chances are nobody told you you were a hero. But those moments built your courage muscle. And just because it happened behind the scenes, your mind might try to tell you it doesn't really count, but it does. A lot. Our mind loves to zoom in on what we lack. Not enough experience, not the right degree, feeling like we didn't accomplish enough in life. And the truth is, it never ends. The only one who can stop that cycle is you. So this is the moment to ask yourself, where have you already shown what you're made of? What strengths have gotten you through before? And where is your David moment? It's like a mental reset, telling yourself, yes, maybe I haven't faced this exact challenge before, but I have gotten through hard things, and I can overcome my Goliath too. I want to suggest a quick exercise. For this, you just need one moment of honesty with yourself. Ask yourself, was there a time in your life that felt scary, confusing, maybe even as heavy as what you're facing right now? And did you still make it through? Again, it doesn't have to be the exact same situation. It can be any moment where you were scared, you didn't know what was coming next, you didn't know how you'd keep going, and still you moved forward. Did you find that moment? Good. That's your lion and bear moment. That's it. Don't overanalyze it. You don't need to get into all the details. Just do one thing. Remember that you've been in situations where you didn't know how you'd handle them, and you still did. From here on, this is what leads you. You're going to face the Goliath in your life. And instead of focusing on weakness, lack of experience, or fear, I want you to remind yourself that you've already gotten through hard things. You've already beaten your lion and bear. You're not starting from zero. This isn't small, and it's not just symbolic. This is real strength, because the moment you recognize your strengths, you stop living from a place of I can't, and you step into I can. You step into someone who's capable, steady, and ready to face what's in front of you. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to put on armor that was never meant for you. You need to use the tools you already have, the ones that are truly yours. And when I say tools, I mean it. Remember how King Saul had David dressed in armor that wasn't his? He couldn't even move in it. And that's not surprising. A lot of the time, we go looking for solutions we think should work for us just because we've seen other people use them. But the truth is, you already have what you need. David lets go of the warrior look, the heavy helmet, the metal armor, the impressive sword. Instead, he chooses to face the big, intimidating thing in front of him, Goliath, in the way he actually knows. He takes off the protection that isn't his. And instead, he picks up a sling, a few stones he chose carefully, and his staff. And yes, he walks in with deep faith, but it's faith alongside tools he knows inside and out. Now the question is, what is your armor? And what are your tools? If you're not an aggressive person, you won't suddenly speak in a harsh, tough tone. If you're sensitive, pretending you don't care won't work for you, and staying quiet when you actually want to speak, that won't move you forward either. All the advice you may have gotten, all the voices telling you to change, to act differently, to be someone you're not, put it aside. Instead of wearing someone else's armor, be like David. Find your strengths, the stones you already know, the sling you know how to use, and move forward with those. Because when you wear armor that isn't yours, you lose touch with who you are. You stop showing your real strengths. You get caught up in how other people see you instead of what you actually want to say and do. And that can be exhausting. Only when you put yourself at the center and the qualities that make you you, can you face whatever comes with confidence. And now I want to suggest an important step. This is the time to make a change, not by yelling it out loud, not by burning everything down and declaring, "This is who I am now. Deal with it." That's not realistic, and it won't get you results. I'm inviting you to take a different approach, something gentle but powerful that moves you forward. Take off the armor that isn't yours and use the tools you already have. Think about your strengths, the experience you already have at work, with people, and in your relationships. And now start using them in a way that moves you forward. Use what you already have. When you speak up, ask the question, share what you think, send your resume for a role you want, whatever it is. Remember, David took off the armor he was handed, but he didn't walk in unprepared. He chose what worked for him, the stones he trusted, and the sling that felt natural in his hands. And you have your own strengths too. You just need to remember them and bring them back to the front. Yes, our mind tends to focus on the negatives, but real change starts when you combine two things, something you already have, and one small step you're willing to take with it. And that brings us to the next thing, courage. Because in the story of David and Goliath, David wasn't fearless, but he was willing to face his fear. He had the courage to step forward, bring what he had, and stand in front of the thing everyone else was terrified of. People laughed at him. Goliath laughed at him and belittled him. And still, David didn't stop. He didn't wait for the perfect moment. He didn't stall. He just ran forward. David's courage isn't the kind that comes without fear. The threat is real. The danger is real. And of course, the words and presence of everyone around him don't help. But his inner decision was this. He wasn't going to let fear run his life. He kept moving with his values, his faith, and the abilities he trusted. What I'm saying is, you can't wait for the moment you feel ready, because that moment will probably never come. What actually moves you forward is changing the way you think. Instead of saying, "When I stop being afraid, then I'll do step 1, 2, 3, you tell yourself, "Yes, I'm scared. Yes, this feels threatening. And still, I'm taking what I have and I'm moving forward." Let's make this practical. Think about your Goliath and ask yourself, what's one thing you can do right now in the next few hours to move it forward? It could be calling someone, setting up a meeting, sending a message, asking a professional question, getting clarification, taking initiative. The list is endless. But this is an important step. See these actions as your stones. And I'm telling you, you've done this before. Your first step can be small, and that's exactly why it works. Remember, David defeated Goliath with one stone, one decisive move. And I don't want to brush off this moment because it matters. I know there's a lot happening behind the scenes, outside voices, and especially your own inner voice telling you you won't succeed, that you might embarrass yourself. But honestly, you've listened to that voice before, and it hasn't moved you forward. To get past that voice, bring your focus back to what you can do, what you do have. You don't need to pretend the fear isn't there. You just need to remember that fear doesn't get to decide for you. This is your self-talk, and it can sound a little different for each person. For example, yes, I don't have the experience yet, but I can learn, and everyone starts somewhere. Or, yes, I'm scared, but look at what I could gain if I'm willing to try and change what's happening in my life right now. Let's take a moment and sum it all up. Our guests today were David and Goliath. And when we look at them, we see that David didn't start out as some kind of superhero. He was a young shepherd boy, willing to look fear in the eye. He reminded himself of the courage he'd already shown before and how he'd handled hard things in the past. Goliath was mostly terrifying. His power was in his words, in his confidence, his contempt, his intimidating appearance, and the way he could step forward and challenge the other side. Even the fact that he shouted all by itself was enough to make everyone afraid of him. From this, we can see the story of David and Goliath is not a children's tale about a boy beating a giant. It's about one person who stops letting fear run his life. He sees reality for what it is, and he's willing to face it. And now, as we wrap up, we're bringing it back to you. We talked about the fact that every one of us has a Goliath, something that scares us, and you're not alone in that. We've all had our lion and bear moments too, whether they happened when we were younger or later on. And you have your own stones, your own tools, the qualities that work in your favor. I'm sure you can already name them. I hope that naming it, the situation, the fear, your tools, and your courage helps you finally move toward the place you've been wanting to reach. And now, I'm inviting you to take it on. Take a moment and think about what you want to face, which Goliath, and don't minimize it. Remember the wins you've already had in your life, and now picture yourself facing this one. What tools you'll use, and how you'll use them. Ask yourself who or what your Goliath is, without downplaying it and without trying to make it seem smaller. Really picture how you're going to face it and what tools you'll use. And to make this story actually useful in your life, give yourself a realistic timeline, say 24 hours to take a step forward. It doesn't have to be something big. Even a small step can give you a huge boost of strength. And if you want to really make it stick, you can always come back to this story. Hear it again, notice new angles, and take what you need. And of course, you can share with us in the comments what your Goliath is, how you plan to face it, and when. Because the moment you say it out loud, the giant starts to lose some of its power, and you gain more courage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. What happens inside you when you hear the word jealousy? I'm sure it brings up some kind of feeling. And I'll tell you this. Most of us think of jealousy as something negative. And honestly, it can be. Jealousy can be destructive. It can completely tear us apart. It can keep us up at night, tossing and turning. And yet, it can also build you. I know that may not be the most popular thing to say, which is exactly why I want to look at one of the most famous legal texts, not just in the Bible, but in human history. And joining this story is a very special and wise man, King Solomon. I'm really excited to share this story with you. The wisdom of King Solomon, the depth of this moment, and the lesson hidden inside it. And I'll be honest, this video feels personal to me. Because while I was preparing it, I saw things that really stayed with me, and I felt like I had to bring them to you. So let's begin. King Solomon was said to be the wisest man who ever lived. He was the third and final king of the United Kingdom of Israel, and he was the son of King David. Even though he wasn't David's firstborn son, he was still chosen to succeed him. He went on to accomplish great things, including the building of the temple, and some say he was only 12 years old when he became king. Solomon ruled over the kingdom of Israel from 965 to 928 BC, and he became known as the wisest of all men. The Bible tells us that when God asked Solomon what he wanted as king, Solomon didn't ask for wealth or power. He asked for wisdom, the ability to listen, to discern, and to judge well. This is how it appears in 1 Kings chapter 3. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? Solomon's story is so fascinating that I know I'll come back to it again. But this time, I want to focus on one of the most famous moments in his life, a story that can actually change the way you think and maybe even help you build a better life. Solomon wasn't just wise. He knew how to see into the human heart. And one day, two women came to him, and one of them was holding a baby. They lived in the same house. One woman gave birth, and 3 days later, the other woman gave birth too. There was no one else in the house, only the two of them. And this is the story one of the women tells Solomon. During the night, the other woman's baby died after she lay on him in her sleep. Then, in the darkness, she got up, took the living baby from beside the real mother, and placed her dead baby in his place. So when the mother woke up in the morning to nurse her son, she found a dead baby next to her. But the moment she looked closely, she realized this was not her child. Solomon listens to both women and says, this one says, "My son is alive, and your son is dead." While that one says, "No, your son is dead, and mine is alive." And he repeats it very carefully. He puts weight on those words. And in a moment, you'll see why that matters so much. Then he looks at the women and says, "Bring me a sword." And with that, he gives a shocking order. Cut the living baby in two and give half to one woman and half to the other. And how do the women respond? The first woman is overwhelmed with compassion. She would rather give up the baby completely than see him killed. She says, "Please, my lord, give her the living baby. Don't kill him." But the second woman says, "Neither I nor you shall have him. Cut him in two." And in that moment, Solomon knows. He had already begun to understand who the real mother was, but now it becomes completely clear. The true mother is the one willing to let go of her child if that is what it takes to save his life. So Solomon gives the baby to her. She is the real mother. I know this sounds like a very short story, but now let's go deeper into what really happened here, into Solomon's unusual wisdom, because even before he asked for the sword, he already knew the answer. And we also need to understand why he still asked for the sword anyway. So let's start with the moment the women come to the king. Two women arrive, and one of them is holding the living baby. The other accuses her of stealing him. She says, in other words, her baby died, and mine is alive. But the woman holding the child says the exact opposite. My baby is alive, and hers is dead. Did you notice what happened there? Each woman says the thing that matters most to her first. To the first woman, the most important thing is that the other woman should not have the baby. To the real mother, the most important thing is that the baby is alive. From that one sentence alone, Solomon already understands who the real mother is and which woman has lost her baby. But he still can't simply announce it. He needs proof, something no one will be able to argue with. I mentioned earlier that Solomon was very young when he became king. And for him, it wasn't only about knowing the truth. It was also about earning the trust of his people. That's why he asks for the unthinkable, to cut the baby in two. But Solomon already knows what a real mother will do. A true mother would rather lose the child than watch him die. And that's exactly what happens. The woman holding the baby, the one who said, "My child is alive and hers is dead," is ready to give up the most precious thing in her world just to keep him alive. She chooses life. And the truth is, She had been choosing life from the very beginning. Her words were about life, not death. With the other mother, it's the exact opposite. She isn't thinking about life at all. She isn't focused on what she still has, and she doesn't even care whether she herself will have a baby or not. All she can think about is making sure the other woman does not. That is what fills her mind. That is what drives her. And she is willing to have the baby killed because that is the only thing she can see. The mother who lost her baby is consumed by death. She is not thinking about life, and that is why death comes first in her words, and that is why she cannot bear for the other woman, the one living with her in the same house, to still have a baby. And what does any of this have to do with jealousy? This is where the story reveals its deepest secret and the lesson I really want you to take with you. Most of us think jealousy is simply wanting something we do not have. But the woman who lost her baby shows us a different kind of jealousy, one that is much darker and far more destructive. It is not the kind that says, I want what she has. It is the kind that says, if I cannot have it, she should not have it either. Think about this for a second. She came to the king saying she wanted the baby, or at least that is what she claimed. But the moment Solomon says, then let the baby be cut in two, she agrees. Why? Because getting the child was never her deepest desire. What she really wanted was for the other woman to hurt the way she was hurting. In that moment, her pain mattered more to her than the baby's life. She would rather see that child die than see the other woman happy. This kind of jealousy is the worst kind because it blinds you. It stops you from seeing what is still in your own hands, and it locks you into one thing only, what someone else has, and how to see it taken away. And when you live from that place, you cannot build anything good. You cannot create a better life. All your energy goes into someone else's life, and all you want is for them to lose what they have. And what about the real mother? She is focused on life. From the very beginning, her words are about the child who is still alive. She is not focused on the other woman's loss. She is focused on saving the life in front of her, and that life matters so much to her that she is willing to let go of her own baby if that is what it takes for him to live. This mother is focused on building, not destroying. She is not really giving up the baby. She is giving up herself, her claim, her place as his mother, and choosing life over everything else. And of course, in the end, King Solomon gives the baby back to her because he understands exactly what is driving her. She is moved by life, by what still exists, not by revenge, not by bitterness, and not by destruction. So let's pause for a moment and sum up what we've seen so far. The first point is our words. There is incredible power in the words we choose, and very often the first thing we say reveals what matters most to us. One mother's first words were that the other woman's son was dead. That was the mother focused on what was missing, on what was gone. The other mother's first words were that her son was alive. That was the mother focused on what was still there, on the life she still had in front of her. Each woman said what mattered most to her. One spoke from death, and the other spoke from life. And the same is true in our own lives. The first thing we say often reveals what matters most to us. How do we begin our day? Do we start with a simple good morning? Do we speak kindly to the people around us when we see them? Or maybe we start the morning with social media and the news, already looking for what is wrong. Maybe we begin the day searching for the negative. We did not sleep well, our back hurts, our head feels heavy. Those of us who start the day looking for what is wrong usually find that it keeps shaping the rest of the day. But those of us who wake up noticing what is good, that we opened our eyes, that we had a safe place to sleep, that there are still good things around us, are much more likely to keep building from that place. Those of us who walk into work already thinking about who we do not want to see will spend the whole day trying to avoid. But those of us who come in looking for familiar faces for people we are genuinely happy to see, are much more likely to find good moments throughout the day, real connection, and that quiet feeling that the world around us is a little warmer and more supportive. This sounds simple, but it is one of the most important rules for life. Begin with what is good. Let your first instinct be to look for what you can build, not what is broken. And that starts from the very moment you wake up. I'm not saying your back pain will magically disappear, or that every dream you had last night will suddenly be perfect. But if the first thing you do in the morning is stop and name 3 good things, those are the thoughts you carry with you into the rest of the day. And over time, that begins to shape your life. Your words and your thoughts shape the world you live in. So if there is something in your life that is not where you want it to be, one of the best places to begin is right here. Choose different words and choose to look for the good. Now let's move to the second point, and that is the idea of compromise when there are 2 sides. King Solomon offers the women what sounds like a compromise. He will divide the baby, and each one will get half. And the truth is, there are many things in life that really can be shared. We can split a meal at a restaurant. We can divide our time between our children or between different people we love. But a baby is not something you can divide. What Solomon is really showing us is that there are some things you cannot split and still keep alive. And through that, he sees exactly what matters to each woman. One of them is willing to accept this so-called solution because she has already lost her baby. At that point, all she wants is to make sure the other woman loses too. If she cannot have a child, then the other woman should not have one either. But the real mother is in a completely different place. She is willing to give up the most precious thing in her world if that is what it takes to keep her baby alive. I know this may sound obvious, and maybe part of you is even thinking, these women were not exactly wise, but let me show you how this plays out in our own lives. Picture an argument, maybe with your partner, maybe with someone at work, maybe with your child, or maybe with your parents. You can keep fighting for your side all the way to the end, and maybe you really are right. Maybe what you are saying is true, important, and completely justified. But the real question is, what are you willing to destroy just to prove that you are right? Is it worth ruining the atmosphere at home? Is it worth blowing up a project at work? Will it really satisfy you just to know that you never gave in? Are you willing to settle for a broken outcome just so the other side will not be happy either? Or do you want to build something different? The mother who was willing to give up her baby just so he could live teaches us that some things matter more than being right, more than the ego that pushes us to win. And remember, even when you are sure you are right, the other person has a world of thoughts and feelings too. And even if you manage to prove that you were right all along, there may still be a price to pay. Think about that mother for a moment. She gave up everything. She was willing to lose the case, to let go of the very thing that defined her as a mother, all for one reason, that her baby would remain whole and stay alive. This is where you need to ask yourself, where in your life are you still fighting just to win, even when that fight is tearing something apart? And where might it be wiser to let go, even if for a moment it feels like you lost? I'm not saying you should always give in, and I'm not saying your principles do not matter. But there are moments in life when holding on costs more than releasing, and you have to be honest enough to know the difference. When you are in the middle of an emotional storm, I want to offer you a different way to look at it and ask yourself, what matters more to you right now? Being right, being the one at the center, or making sure the thing you have been building can keep living. Take a project at work, for example. What matters more in that moment, proving your point or getting the work done? This is the moment to learn how to loosen your grip sometimes and to understand that it does not make you any less. It does the opposite. It builds you. It makes you better. When you stop needing to be right and start asking how to build instead, and sometimes how to build together with the people around you, your whole reality begins to change. It becomes more positive, and in the end, you achieve so much more. If I go back to the example of a project at work, walking away from it because of arguments can end up hurting you. And your reputation too, even if you were right. But seeing it through, even if it is not done the way you would have chosen, already puts you in a stronger position. And now we come to the third and final point in this video, and it is probably the most important one of all. I did not save it for the end just to keep you watching. I saved it for now because if the first 2 points really landed, then you are ready for this one. Jealousy can destroy, and jealousy can also build. Go back to the story for a moment. One mother wanted the baby to live, no matter the cost. The other wanted the baby dead for one reason only. If she could not have a child, then the other woman should not have one either. She was not moved by love, and she was not trying to protect anything. She was consumed by pain, and that pain turned into jealousy so dark that all she wanted was this. If her life had been shattered, the other woman's life should be shattered too. This is destructive jealousy, and all of us can recognize it in our own lives. We see someone driving a beautiful car, and almost immediately we start coming up with reasons it does not really count. He probably cheated to get it. Maybe his parents gave him the money. Maybe he is only driving it to impress people, and in real life, he is not worth much at all. That kind of jealousy damages the way we see things. For a moment, it makes us feel better about ourselves, because we tell ourselves we did not hurt anyone, we did not cheat, and we worked hard for the car we have if we even have one. And a lot of people do this because it is their way of feeling a little better about themselves. The truth is, this kind of criticism toward other people does not help us. It fills our minds with negative thoughts, can pull us into depression, makes everyday life feel heavy and uncomfortable, and it truly keeps us from moving forward. And in extreme cases, jealousy can take a person to a very dark place, the kind of place we see in Solomon's Judgement, where someone is willing to cut the baby in two. I want to offer you a different way of looking at jealousy. Let's say you see someone driving a beautiful car. Instead of judging him, ask yourself, what would I actually want to know about this person? Maybe you would really go up and ask. Maybe you would start looking for the answer on your own, maybe even online. Maybe what you really want to know is whether he built his own business. And if he did, then maybe there is something there for you to learn. Maybe even a way to work with him for a while and see how he got there. Or maybe all you want is to look at that person, look at that car, and say to yourself, that's what I'm aiming for. Not in a way that says, I don't want them to have it. In a way that says, I want to build that for myself too. Not so only one of you gets to have something beautiful, but so both of you can. Of course, the car is just a metaphor. So let me give you another example. Let's say you see a mother who really seems to enjoy being with her children. She takes them to the park with a smile on her face. They sit together at a cafe. Her kids maybe even eat fruit without a fight. And then you look at your own life. What does that feel like? Maybe you're tired, completely worn out. Maybe you haven't had a real night of sleep in a long time. Maybe every day feels like a battle just to get your kids to eat something healthy, and you can't even remember the last time you had a quiet moment to yourself. In a moment like that, you can start picking apart the other mother and looking for everything that must be wrong with her, just to make your own situation feel easier to justify. But I'll tell you something honestly, if that becomes your way of seeing things, you'll stay exactly where you are. Let me suggest something else. Go speak to that mother. Maybe ask her for a tip or two. And if that feels uncomfortable, then look for advice somewhere else. But do not miss what is right in front of you. Now you have an example of the kind of mother you want to become. Because if her children start throwing food, acting wild, and wearing her down too, it will not make you feel any better. Then both of you are exhausted. What you need is to look at someone else's success as proof that the life you want is possible. And this is where jealousy can actually build you. It can turn into a model you learn from, something that helps you grow, develop, and sometimes even build alongside someone else. Instead of looking at life as you versus another woman, try choosing a win-win way of thinking. It is possible. The story of Solomon's judgment is short, and at first it can almost seem too obvious, but the wisdom inside it can truly shape the way you live. So tell me in the comments what resonated with you most and what you want to take with you from this story, because the moment you put it into words, you are already taking a real step. And if you have not done it yet, subscribe to the channel and join us for more videos that can help you build a better life. Do you have that one task hanging over you and all you want is for it to disappear? Maybe it is finally time to fill out that tax report and you keep putting it off. Maybe a letter from the bank came in and you are afraid to open it. Or maybe there is a phone call you know you need to make, but you keep waiting for the right moment. If you relate to any of those situations or anything like them, then this is exactly the video you need. So many of us keep pushing unpleasant tasks to another day. We move them to some later date, some better time, and instead of dealing with them, we choose to do something else. Maybe it feels important. Maybe it just helps us get a little farther away from that discomfort. But both of us know that postponing a task does not make it disappear. You can close your eyes, go to sleep, cook, spend time with friends, and do 100 other things, and still, that task will be there. This kind of procrastination is not really about laziness or a lack of motivation. Most of the time, it comes from how hard it feels to face something. And even though I completely understand that, I still want you to see the real price it comes with. Sometimes that price shows up in interest, penalties, or late fees. But the deeper price is the loss of peace in our own mind. That one task or that growing pile of tasks can stop you in your tracks. They become like weights you carry with you everywhere. But I promise you, this can change completely. By the end of this video, you will see how to turn a new page, clear the table, and create a calmer, quieter life for yourself. A life where you take care of things not from pressure and overwhelm, but from joy and from a real sense of control over your reality. For this video, I want to bring in Jonah the Prophet, a fascinating man who was given a mission he truly did not want, and instead of facing it, kept trying again and again to run in the opposite direction. Our story unfolds in 4 chapters, taking us through a turbulent journey, from escape to a storm at sea and all the way into the wilderness. This story is going to reveal the price of avoidance. But just as importantly, it is going to show us how to stop letting the tasks around us run our lives and how to turn what feels like a burden into an opportunity for growth. Ready? Let's begin. The story of Jonah the Prophet comes to us from the book of Jonah, and it unfolds around the 8th century BC. In the opening of the story, we meet Jonah living in the north of the land, living a relatively quiet life, until one day everything is shaken. He receives a divine command telling him to go to the city of Nineveh. And Nineveh is not just any city. It is the great Assyrian city, feared for its power and its cruelty. Its people were known for their brutality, and God tells Jonah that the evil of that city has risen before him, and because of that, their lives are now in danger. Jonah is not simply being told to travel there. He is being sent to warn the people, to stand before them and tell them that their ways are evil and that they must change before their city is destroyed. And as if the mission itself did not already require a huge amount of courage, Jonah also had to set out on a real journey. If we tried to place Nineveh on a map today, it would most likely be somewhere near Mosul in Iraq. And in terms of distance, we are talking about a journey of hundreds of miles, all to reach a place Jonah cannot stand. Jonah is comfortable where he is. He does not want this burden on his shoulders. And beyond that, he does not even believe the people of Nineveh deserve forgiveness. He does not think they should be given a chance to change. In short, he wants nothing to do with this mission. And I know that at this point, you can probably already think of a task in your own life that you have been ignoring, maybe even running from. Let yourself sit with that for a moment as we keep going and see what happened to Jonah. Jonah sets out, but not toward Nineveh. He leaves the hills where he has been living and makes his way down to Jaffa, already a busy port city in those days. There, surrounded by the smell of fish, the noise of traders, and the sight of massive wooden ships, he looks for the one boat that will carry him as far away from Nineveh as possible. The text describes Jonah's move as a descent. He goes down to Jaffa. And that is not accidental, because when we run, when we postpone, when we keep avoiding what we need to face, we are always going downward. So Jonah finds a ship bound for Tarshish, a place many scholars associate with the far western edge of the Mediterranean, possibly somewhere in southern Spain. In other words, he is willing to cross the whole sea just to avoid going to Nineveh. And to make sure the ship would leave, he pays the fare in advance for everyone on board just to be certain he can get out of there. In other words, he pays a fortune just to escape the mission he was given. And that is exactly what happens in our own lives. Running away always costs more. When we delay paying a fine, extra charges start piling up. And when we keep pushing a task aside, it takes so much more energy to finally face it later. Jonah paid an enormous price just to buy himself some peace of mind, never realizing he was really buying a ticket straight into the heart of the storm. Now we come to the second chapter in Jonah's story. He finds the ship that will take him far away, pays a great deal of money to get on it, climbs aboard, and the moment the sails open, he goes down to the lower deck. Once again, the movement is downward. It is a powerful picture of Jonah's avoidance and really of our own. The ship sets out, and once it reaches open water, a violent storm erupts around it. The sailors panic. They begin throwing cargo into the sea, hoping to save the ship. Everyone is shouting, everyone is crying out, and Jonah is the only one down below, alone in a dark cabin, asleep. This is not restful sleep. This is the sleep of escape. You probably know that feeling, when everything is piling up, when it feels like your whole world is starting to collapse and all you want to do is go to sleep, or disappear into your phone and scroll for hours just to avoid everything. All you want is to do what Jonah does, shut down completely. Usually it comes from this quiet hope that if we close our eyes, fall asleep, or disconnect for a while, the storm outside will somehow pass. But that is not what happens. And while Jonah is sleeping, the ship is already close to breaking apart. By this point, the captain is desperate. He does not know what else to do, so he goes looking for Jonah and finds him asleep. He wakes him and tells him, "How can you be sleeping at a time like this when everyone else is fighting to save the ship?" Then he tells him to get up and pray to his God. In a way, the captain is like reality knocking at our door, or that inner voice inside us saying, "You cannot keep sleeping while your debts are piling up, while your project is sinking, and while life keeps moving whether you are ready for it or not." The sailors begin to realize this is not just a weather problem. Their ship is the only one being thrown violently from side to side, while the other ships keep moving on without trouble. So they cast lots, trying to find out who is responsible for the disaster that has come over them. The lot falls on Jonah, and suddenly all eyes are on him. The sailors ask him what he has done, and Jonah admits the truth. He is running away. He understands that the only way for the storm to stop is to face what he has been trying to escape. So he tells them to throw him into the sea, and by doing that, save themselves and everyone else on board. This is a frightening moment, but it is also the moment Jonah's courage begins to show. He understands that he cannot keep hiding inside the ship. If he is going to face reality, then he has to stop running from it, even if that means being thrown into the sea. There comes a moment like that in our own lives too. Even after all the running, reality is still there, waiting for us to face it. But I'm not asking you to give up everything and jump into stormy waters the way Jonah did. In just a moment, you'll see that even for Jonah, things did not get resolved so quickly. Now we come to the third chapter in Jonah's journey. After he admits the truth, the sailors respond with compassion. They don't want to throw him into the sea and send him to his death. Yes, they understand they are taking a risk, but they still choose to row with all their strength and try to turn back rather than take such an extreme step. And it's so similar to our own lives, even when we know there's no real way around it, even when we know we need to face reality, we still look for detours. We still try to row around the problem, anything just to avoid dealing with the task itself. When rowing back fails, they make a different decision to lower Jonah into the water little by little. First, they lower him in up to his knees, and the sea grows calm, so they pull him back up. But the moment they do, the storm rises again. So they repeat it. This time, they lower him into the water up to his neck, and once again, the sea grows calm. But as soon as they lift him back up, the storm returns. In the end, there is no other choice. Everyone understands it now, Jonah included. The only way forward is to let him go. And in a single moment, the sea turns calm. But the quiet that settles over everything is not only physical, it's also the quiet that comes when reality is finally faced. It is fair to say that for everyone else on the ship, that chapter is over. But for Jonah, the story is far from finished. He sinks into the depths, and yet instead of drowning, he is swallowed by a great fish. Just imagine what that must have felt like. A moment ago, he was on the ship, right in the middle of the storm, and now he's inside the belly of a great fish. In an instant, he goes from all that noise to complete silence to darkness. He's trapped in a place that is tight and suffocating, and now he has to figure out what he's going to do. In real life, that belly of the fish is the last-minute moment. It's the night before the deadline for the task you haven't even started. It's that moment when there's nowhere left to run. You can't sleep your way out of it, and you can't distract yourself out of it, because reality is closing in from every side. And this is where something begins to change in Jonah. In the darkness, in the very lowest place, he prays, and for the first time, he really meets himself. He realizes the fish was not there to punish him. It was there to stop the running, because sometimes life puts us in tight, painful places for one reason only. So we stop escaping and finally start listening to ourselves. For 3 days, Jonah remains inside the belly of the fish until at last it spits him out onto dry land. And in those 3 days, he's forced to sit with himself, to face himself, to reckon with what has been happening inside him. So when he finally comes out, soaked, maybe still shaken, he is at last ready to go to Nineveh. From here, we come to the fourth and final chapter in Jonah's journey. After 3 days in the belly of the fish, he's thrown back onto dry land and receives the command once again to go to Nineveh. But this time, he doesn't argue. He simply gets up and goes, crosses the desert, and enters the great city. He stands before the people and cries out, 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. That is all he says. No long explanation, no extra detail. Just a few sharp, exact words, and suddenly, the whole city is listening. Jonah was convinced no one would listen to him. He may even have been afraid of what would happen once he said those words to the people of the city. But the opposite happens. The people listen, and more than that, the whole city begins to change. Everyone changes, from the simplest people all the way to the king of Nineveh. The king steps down from his throne, takes off his royal robes, covers himself with sackcloth, and sits in the dust as a sign of mourning. He himself declares that everyone must change their ways. And because they do, the city is not destroyed. It remains standing, and the people are able to go on living their lives. And what about Jonah? He has just helped prevent a terrible disaster. On the surface, he should be relieved. He should be happy. But instead, he is angry. More than angry, he is furious. He leaves the city, builds himself a small shelter, sits down in the shade, and waits to see whether the people of Nineveh will go back to their old ways. He is convinced something will go wrong, that people cannot really change just like that. And deep down, he still believes the whole city deserves to be punished. But while he's sitting there in the blazing desert heat, something happens. A plant grows up over his little shelter and gives him shade. And this is not just some small detail. That plant becomes a symbol of the life the desert is missing so desperately. But the very next morning, a worm appears and attacks the plant, and it quickly withers away. Jonah feels it immediately. The shade is gone, the heat comes down on him again, and he is overwhelmed by it. He is frustrated, he wants to die, and he even says, "It would be better for me to die than to live." Jonah is so overwhelmed in that moment that God asks him, "How can you care so much about a plant you didn't even plant or water? How can you be ready to die just because the plant is gone, just because things got a little uncomfortable for you, and yet feel no compassion for an entire city?" And that's where Jonah's story ends, with God putting everything back into perspective and showing him where all his energy and emotion have really been going. Jonah wanted to die over a plant that withered, a plant that had pulled his attention away from what truly mattered. Something that barely affected reality had, in his eyes, become more important than everything else he had been through. And this is exactly what happens in our own lives. We let one small task take over our mind, and it ends up stealing entire days of peace. That's the lesson of the plant in Jonah's story. The drama we create around small things is just not worth the price. The question at the end of the story forces Jonah back to what really matters. It pushes him to face his own emotions and ask whether he has lost sight of the value of life itself simply because he let those emotions take over. And the story ends with a question for a reason, to remind us that the choice is still in our hands. There are things bigger than us, and there's so much we cannot control. But in the end, how we respond and what we choose to give our energy to is still up to us. So what does Jonah's stubbornness and the journey he goes through teach us about our own lives? It shows us that the things we avoid don't disappear just because we hide from them, and reality doesn't stop just because we look away. But you already know that. What this story really gives us is a deeper way of understanding why we keep avoiding the things we need to face. Think for a moment about the things you're good at, the things that come naturally to you. Maybe you're someone who likes the house to feel neat and in order. Maybe your work comes easily to you, or maybe building friendships is something you do with ease. We naturally stay close to those areas because that's where we feel confident, capable, and at home. When something comes naturally to you, you feel it. You feel more confident, more at ease, more like yourself. And very often, the thing that feels easy for you is something someone else struggles with deeply. That may be your gift. That may be one of the ways you are meant to bring something good into the world. If connecting with people comes easily to you, then you probably carry a kind of warmth that others can feel. And with that same quality, you can make the people around you feel more comfortable, more seen, and a little lighter too. You could almost call that your purpose. But then what about the places that don't come easily to you? The things you resist, the things that feel less natural, like giving a presentation or maybe building friendships, that's where the real stretch begins. If there's something you keep avoiding again and again, that is usually a sign that something there needs attention. Maybe it needs healing, maybe it needs work, maybe it simply needs to be put in order. And yes, facing it may truly be hard. But when you keep pushing it off for weeks, it only becomes harder. We both know the task is not going anywhere. It keeps sitting there, pressing on the very place in you that already feels hardest. And the longer you leave it, the more it follows you, quietly draining your peace, sitting in the background of your day and turning into a constant source of tension. The things we keep running from, those are our Nineveh. And when we finally face them, they bring something real into our lives: peace, relief, a sense of calm. It may not feel as dramatic as Jonah saving an entire city, but the impact can still be enormous. And I want you to notice something else. Yes, Jonah ended up helping save the city, but he didn't come out of that journey the same person. Something in him began to soften. Some of the judgment he carried started to loosen, and he began to learn what compassion really is. And that's the deeper point for us too. When we face the things that don't come easily to us, the growth is often much bigger than the task itself. And beyond all of that, there is something incredibly freeing about finally getting things off your plate. That report you need to file is not going to disappear. Your bank account is still waiting for you. That email is not going to send itself. Sooner or later, the thing you keep pushing away is still going to ask for your attention. Most of the time, those are the very tasks that help you grow. They push you through a real process. They help you break through the things that have been weighing on you. And the moment you stop running, you realize that all the energy you were using just to hide below deck can finally be used to build something new. Once the task is behind you, something opens up. You have room for new things. You have more time, and you begin to discover a strength in yourself you may have forgotten was there. What feels today like just one more burden you don't want to carry may end up becoming the very step that leads you into a calmer, easier life. I have a feeling you already know what this video is asking of you. Let it sink in, and then choose one thing you're finally going to face. Not 10 things, not a whole list, just one thing you know you have been avoiding for a long time. Don't see it as one more burden to carry. See it as the step that can move you forward. Get it off your plate because your peace of mind matters more. And you will see that the moment you do, the storm inside you begins to settle and the road ahead starts to feel open and clear again. And let me tell you one more thing. Most of the time, Nineveh is far less frightening than it looked from a distance. So right now, choose one task and decide that you're going to do it. Not tomorrow, not next week. Ask yourself what you can do today so that at last it can be behind you. And just before we finish, I want to thank Jonah for giving us such an important lesson about putting things off. But more than that, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen, to learn, and to spend these moments with me. That is never something I take for granted. And if this video resonated with you, I invite you to share in the comments what spoke to you most, and even write down the commitment you want to make to yourself. Because the moment you write it down, your journey begins. Thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next video.